Hello, birds. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to nature. Come have some free electrons. They are free for you. Nice to know that there are things out there that are free. They require no reciprocation, zero reciprocity. That's what nature offers you. No need to have to give back. Just what your body naturally gives anyway. You breathe in fresh oxygen. You breathe out excess carbon dioxide. These trees, which serve as antennae, receive it and convert it into useful energy. It's a symbiotic relationship we share. And while they're doing all that, they stay still. They don't walk around and move. Because let's face it, ladies and gentlemen, these trees don't have to move. They have everything they need. These families, they stick together because it's beneficial to do so. If they stick together, when it rains, instead of them being washed out, they absorb all that moisture and they store it to the intelligence that is the mycorrhizae, the fungi, which builds networks in this wood, helps for the storage of all of this liquid. So they have reserves. Someone comes in and cops one of these trees, chops it off. Its neighbors respond. First thing is messages from the mycorrhizae receive the distress call. Hello, Vicky. Says hello, beautiful people. Wonderful to see you, Vicky. So, the mycorrhizae, or the fungi, the mushrooms, they receive this correspondence. They'll start to send signals to the trees. The trees don't have to worry about the sending and receiving of signals so much as they're managed by this intelligence, and it sends life in the form of vital nutrients to the root systems of the copped tree. Soon before you know it, this sun, which is the vital source for all the trees, can start to be absorbed again as sprouts occur at the base of where the tree is copped. This all happens naturally. The tree isn't planning it out. It doesn't have to. It's a life form that is supported by an infinite intelligence that wishes for its proliferation and survival. So if it's copped from the bottom, it's not a total loss. In fact, when it comes back, as it comes back twice as strong. Twice as much growth, twice as much canopy, twice as much root extension. Tokyo, thank you for following. Welcome. That was an unusual sound. Thanks for following, Tokyo. Welcome. That was an unusual sound. And it was very close. We'll take it at face value. This is what we see. So the basic message is healing is a process managed by a superior intelligence. That intelligence we do not witness in its truth until it shows the evidence of its work. At that point in time, it happens so frequently, the healing of our wounds, that we take it for granted. It just becomes normal, a normal, everyday activity that is expected. And because it's expected, it works so efficiently. You get a cut on your finger, you have the expectation that it's going to heal. Unless, of course, you have the expectation that you have some predisposed condition, a condition impressed upon you by your doctors, by those in your environment, perhaps from previous life experience. You believe this cut to be the one catalyst that sends you into a spiral towards imminent destruction. And that cut can then serve as the end of you, the demise of you, when in truth, all it wants is to heal, because it keeps you alive. So the intelligence is all about keeping us alive. It's all about repairing us. It's all about expanding us until thinking it differently makes it so. It loves us so much that it would stop its healing process for us in order to adhere to a story that we wish to entertain more than its health. It will allow us to entertain it, and it will adhere to the story. Point in being, you become what you think about. That's the last thing someone identifying as a name with life experiences wants to believe. So I challenge this belief system every day, not because I want to win an argument, not because I have some sort of sick, sadist mentality to see you suffer, but because I want you to see the truth of what's feeding you life. The moment that you see the truth of what feeds you life, you can come into being with it, because it's your source of being fed. So once you come into the source of how you're fed, all of your life experience, then it becomes entirely your control as far as what is manifest. That's what I'm about here. That's the gig. That's the purpose. That's why I'm here. So if you want to know what the purpose is in me being here, it has to do with you understanding the source of your life, how it's fed to you, and how it responds to you. In doing this, you can come into what you will honestly believe, because it's nothing more than a beautiful kingdom, an infinite kingdom of power that you have as a human being. Amy, thanks for the share. Cass, thanks for the heart me and for the grand rising notification. Let's pin it for the world to see what this means. We have risen from our death. We have all resurrected today. Is that hard to believe? Hi. Welcome to Sacramento. I'll tell you that story perhaps today. Just kidding. We are not in Sacramento. We are in New England. That was a misnomer, and it's not meant to lead you astray. It's simply to play with you a bit, because we're here to play. That's the purpose of life. It's to play. It is a grand rising. Did you know you resurrected yourself today? Your truth in being, your aliveness resurrected you, gave you another day to play the game of life in this beautiful body, this temple of infinite intelligence that knows the means and the way to cure everything and heal you, deliver to you great abundance and happiness, and also send you to peril, however you decide. It's ready and willing to die and live for you. Every cell has come from you. Therefore, it is your devotee. Every cell is devoted to your life. Like I said, it will die for you. It will be reborn for you. It will recycle for you. It will convert the food that you eat into vital replications of itself. It will cauterize your wounds, heal them as if they never even existed. If you were to look at them, it would look like everything else. Perfectly grafted and returned to its normal state of aliveness. Yes, you have devotees. You have about 50 trillion. They all have the same amount of devotion to you so long as you believe them to be there for you. They shall be devoted to you. Believe them to no longer have any purpose in your life. Believe them to be against you. And they, against all odds, will turn against you and adhere once again to the rules. So it's no different than the recruits, the devotees that you would see in Fight Club during Project Mayhem. The first rule of Project Mayhem is we ask no questions, sir, is what your cells say. We don't ask any questions. We just come along for the ride. We do as we are told. We replicate. We heal. We restore. And if we must, we will fight to the death. We will plunge ourselves into the great abyss and void in order to serve our master. Our master is the one who is the captain of the ship, the one who manages the imagination in this vessel. If it's not you, then who is it? Is it your name? Is it your collection of life experiences? Is that what manages your beautiful imagination? And the answer is it's not. What manages your imagination is you and your truth. You can step into this world. You can make it anything you want. No limitations, no restrictions as far as its replication either. You can extend it out 1,000 miles into 1,000 worlds. You can yield as much gold and as many diamonds as you wish, and they can land right in your lap right now and be the weight of a single feather, all at once, all together, 1,000,000 times over. There's no restriction. You have access to this, not your cells, and certainly not your ego. If you are truly in your imagination, your ego is not a part of it, because your ego is a result of it. So this is the rule. Anything that is a result of your imagination cannot be a part of your imagination. I repeat, anything that is a result of your imagination cannot take part as the imagination. Just as this tree, as beautiful and as majestic as it is, cannot return to its source as seed. It can only live as a memory of it, an expression of its blueprint, at one point planted very intimately and against all odds, survived and growed, and growed and growed and growed and grew. I am Groot, says the tree, right? Right. But it can't be the seed, nor can it be the blueprint that thought it into existence. That is something greater. That is you. Welcome to your truth. Welcome to the world of imagination. It is your kingdom. It is your nation of images in your mind. And the nation of images becomes what you think about, or else it wouldn't be the imagination. No, my friends, that would be reality. Reality is imposed upon you, thrust upon you. You are made victim to it. It throws you into great peril all the time, misleads you, lies to you, demotes you, takes away your most valuable of possessions, sends you into a frenzy, triggers you, makes you feel at odds with one another. This world outside of you is not your friend. It simply is the result of a mismanaged kingdom, one that we would wish not take responsibility for. We would wish for someone to fix it. We would wish for someone to please stop this tyrant. We would wish for someone to please cancel and silence such an aggression of words and onslaughts, seemingly never ending. We would wish to stop everything out here that poses a threat to our existence. This is not our imagination. This is the result. If you look around, do you see war? Well, if you do, you have a wild imagination. Have you ever been told that? That you have a wild imagination? If you see anything other than the sun behind an overcast, if you see bombs exploding all around you, conflict to no end, then you have a wild imagination. Because what I see before me is a calm walk in the woods, with an even calmer voice backing it now. And of course, what does the world say to William Vincent Carleton, the actor? William has no idea what's going on with the world. And if anyone has a wild imagination, it's most certainly him. I get it. I get it. I tell you what I observe. I talk about its peace. I talk about the tranquility and the freedom that is involved. I talk about how it's no cost. And I'm told that I am the wild one. That I have the wild imagination. Well, folks, here we are. This is called a crossroads. Let me ask you, it's a legitimate question and I would love an answer. Are you happy with the war? Are you happy with opposition? These aren't rhetorical questions. They may truly be your desire. I just want to know where I stand with you. Do you like watching people suffer their obliteration? Do you like being told lies? Being met with indifference instead of compassion? Because it's what I'm told the world is. So it must be a desire, according to the way I think, which is, of course, a wild imagination. Celia doesn't want it. Tokyo doesn't want it. Amy doesn't want it. Maria doesn't want it. Vicky doesn't want it. Cass says something beautiful. This is where I'm being reeled in. Me as an actor, as a performer, William Vincent Carleton is being reeled in by the beauty of woman. This is the beauty of woman. It says, I receive you, and I want you to know you're loved, regardless of what you say. What this does for a man is it tells him he can be anything in support of that, and he will be everything in support of that. That empowers a man to be more loving, to be more giving, to feel as if he's purpose-driven, given some sort of directive that is perfect for him. So thank you for that. There's a lot to be learned from these beautiful things. Scylla, you are no exception. This right here is how I would love to be understood. It's how I would love to be seen. Thank you, Cass, for all these roses. Tokyo doesn't want these things that are bad. We can define them. Tokyo's making some funny comments today. Here is a beautiful one right here from Robin. Look at this, everybody. Take a look at the use of one's manifestation power. Robin Spicer is an identity. That's not an insult. Beyond Robin Spicer is an infinite source of intelligence that powers Robin Spicer's life. That is this. This comment right here. The all. Consciousness itself. When Robin says this, you know what she's doing? She's providing the presence of God before her devotees. The devotees that compose of Robin Spicer. She walks right into the temple or to the place of worship, and she shows the brightest of all lights in levitation. The cells see the presence of God as Robin, without understanding the truth, that it's them. But Robin gives it anyway, because she is the all. These are the things that we come into. Grandpa OG, thanks for following. What a strain that is. Earth Angel George says you must see all sides, dark and light. I love this, Earth Angel. Would you be mine? Just kidding. How to do it. I'm sure this has happened to you before. So I can't pin it, Earth Angel, but what is really beautiful about this is that we can't have perception of this dualistic nature that is life without polarity, without opposites. In fact, the actual functionality of a circuit in electricity is electromagnetic, and both the magnetic component and the electric component requires polarity in opposition with one another. What it does is it creates a tension, of course, like a tug of war, but that tension creates a byproduct, and that byproduct is light. And without light, we have just dark. There's nothing that we can perceive. So in order for consciousness to continue, it not only needs these polarities to be constant everywhere that we observe consciousness, as consciousness, it must be constant. You remove one component of it, the whole system collapses, and it never has. So it means it must remain. That's what's beautiful about it. So, yes, there's the polarity of things. There are the masculine and feminine, the active and the passive, the good and the evil, of course. These are all definitions. They're just sides to the same coin. That's all they really are. But we place ourselves in opposition to things, and we also unify ourselves with things because it's our God-given right to make choices, to discern. And in that discernment, we perpetuate this law of polarity. So we must also be making decisions over things that we like versus not, which creates tension, and that tension creates light, which gives the experience in a dualistic manner. This duality is presented because of the byproduct of tension. And what's really beautiful about this is that tension is in fact unity. How the heck can that be? Well, if I have a rope side and you have the other side to the rope and we're pulling, then we are in effect pulling as part of the same circuit. It isn't until somebody lets go of that string, one side, that the circuit breaks and the system collapses. So if we're at odds and we're pulling, one wants to win versus the other, there might be some leeway, but there's still tension, and it creates a closed circuit. That closed circuit provides the experience of tug of war. That's the experience. And in the middle of that is the greatest tension. The middle of that with the greatest tension is where the most amount of energy is concentrated. Do that enough, and that energy becomes light and gives you a conscious experience. What's beautiful about this is we don't have to worry about these processes. They're happening automatically because they can't die. The energy can't die. It's simply seeking out another opportunity for there to be more resistance in order to create light. Happens all the time. It comes and goes, it waxes and wanes, but it is a constant that does not die. For us to have this duality, there must always be tension. So, this is why you forgive yourself, you see? You forgive yourself in understanding there are powers that are greater than the power of whatever story might be brewing in your mind about guilt or regret. It's just another form of tension created in order for life experience to continue, and without it, there would be a degradation of this experience itself. Simply can't be without it. So we come into this world to have tension, to label things, to define things, and to choose the things that we want versus not. And every single human being is given that right through consciousness to make those decisions. We make these decisions according to how we entertain our thoughts. So if we entertain our thoughts as an idea made in the mind of an infinite intelligence, then you can imagine your world would have no limits. Start to entertain thoughts as if we are subject to an external circumstance that we have no control over, and you can see quite easily how we would plunge ourselves into a world of lack. Once again, exercising our infinite power all the same. Necessary to be there for the creation of light through polarity and tension. We are coming into being and understanding our truth. Consciousness does not die. The life experience is fleeting and constantly changing, constantly evolving, though we will try to find our way through it with some sort of rhythm and try to create some falsehood of resolution to where we can sit on vacation for a long enough period of time to believe this is our life, only to find ourselves being thrust back into another cycle, another season, another repetition for the sake of life's expression to continue. So the life principle, This generative life principle, which is a principle of care, does not die and is constantly seeking its expression through energy, which you could consider light in physical form, and you could also consider ether in the spiritual. Light is beautiful in that it has two possibilities at all times. It can be a wave that is unable to be observed through the naked eye, or it can be certainly a direct beam like a laser, focusing itself into you so that you can reflect it and focus on the things that you want. So light serves as two forms, wave and particle. This explains the fundamentals of quantum theory. Quantum mechanics, quantum computing, what we're talking about are things that are subatomic or smaller than the atom, thus imperceptible. But we can sense its forces and we can measure their forces based on where we pay attention to things. And scientists are coming to this understanding, in truth, more and more every day, that the quantum phenomena of existence is a thought in the mind of an infinite intelligence which has brought us forth in form. Beyond it bringing us forth in form as human, we are granted direct interface to it through a phenomena called the imagination. It is our greatest gift. It is our most astounding power. And how ironic that it is the thing that runs away from us first in life. Welcome to the conundrum, folks. You are alive. Andromeda says, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare. Spirit Fire says, forever learning and growing. Indeed, indeed. This is the goal of consciousness, Spirit Fire. What a synchronistic thing to say. The true objective of the game of life and its expression through care is know thyself. Know thyself. You are consciousness. Before you were a name, you were conceived. You were conceived and given the gift of consciousness. That consciousness, which is infinite and boundless, split every cell in your body through mitosis and still does. That's who you truly are in expression. You are an expression of aliveness. More than a name, more than an accumulation of life experiences, all those things are great and very important to us. Of course they are. We go to war over them. We kill each other over our belief systems. We block and shadow ban and never talk and ghost each other over these belief systems. But many of us do not realize that these belief systems would not exist without consciousness powering them and allowing us to store them into our cells in a beautiful storage device called DNA. It's just a storage device. I mean, it's more than just a storage device. It's actually quite a beautiful hard drive processor slash server slash holographic emulator. The DNA of our body is quite miraculous. But it once again is not everything. Nope. It's simply a part of this infinite expression of intelligence. But we do have storage capacity, large storage capacity, petabytes of storage capacity in the DNA of our body. In just a few grams of DNA holds hundreds of petabytes of information. You know how much that is? Give you an idea. It's enough for you to record in HD at 1080p or even 4K or even 8K for about 10,000 years. If you were to do it in an archived form, you could record your physical experience, you could record what you're seeing, what you're hearing, what you're tasting, what you're touching, what you're smelling, all the olfactory. Everything is recorded into this data in the DNA. Not only that, it can constantly be rewritten, it can constantly be repurposed, it can be transferred via creation of life to our children, thus perpetuating the life experience, giving them an extension of the game of life that we played. It can also be used to instantaneously transfer information without any distance required to be traveled. So it's an instantaneous transfer of data in subatomic quality from 1 gram of DNA to another, and this has been proven since 2013 in a study using a vacuum where there's no interference, no entropy, just instantaneous. The information is in one place and now is in the other, existing in 2 places at the same time without any distance traveled or any time elapsed. So if we understand that our DNA can do this, it can instantaneously be in every place all at once, transferring information at a huge data rate, at a very fast refresh rate. We're talking nanosecond rate of transfer, technically no time at all. Means the following. It means we can have an experience that is constantly refreshing at such a rate that our brain and eyes would not be able to keep up with it. It happens if you get yourself a really nice monitor for playing video games and you're playing with a really good video card. What you'll find is your eyes can't keep up with the refresh rate. The millisecond refresh rate that's happening with the games that you're playing is higher than your capacity to observe it. So what it seems like to you is it's just really smooth. You just perceive it as smooth. But in effect, it's refreshing much faster than what you can actually perceive. And that's what happens with life. Everything that we see before us is refreshing at such a rate that it just appears as smooth, it appears as solid. And beyond that, we have the sensory experience that's provided by electrical currents in the brain that give us the perception of solidarity, or I should say matter. Solid matter is felt through the senses, through electrical signals in the brain. So we have all of these beautiful phenomena happening. And what if we were to be told that we need to manage all the refresh rate, all of the processing, all the transmission of information, all of it at the same time, while also managing our digestive system, our respiratory system, the recycling of glucose in the body, elimination, sleep, those cycles? Imagine if we were in charge of all these systems. What would happen? Well, we would instantaneously be dead. Consciousness would end for us. So this is something we're talking about as a superior intelligence. The rate of cells being released in your body every second are akin to 3 to 6 million cells on average. Every second of your life, coming from the marrow of your bones, circulating through your body. That's just one element. We're not even talking about the molecular interactions. We're not talking about the subatomic interactions either, which take us into the realm of the infinite. As far as transactions, sending and receiving, coming and going, it's infinite. And that's what's being done for you to have a life experience, to be able to define things, make sense of things, enjoy things, or fall into the abyss. But all the same, it's a gift given to you. If we were to be in charge of it all, it would just collapse. It would no longer exist. So we have a superior intelligence that is managing consciousness. And the more we understand this, the more we can get close to it. And the closer we get to it by believing ourselves to be it, which is the closest you can get, you truly begin to play the game of life. Know thyself. Know thyself. Before you were a name, you were this aliveness. Know thyself. Before you were a collection of life experiences, you were a concept in the mind of God brought forth as the key to fertilize an egg amongst 250 million competitors as sperm. You were the one chosen. Know thyself. Every cell in your body is a devotee to you, not because it's some random haphazard decision being made by a collective, but because they literally see you as God. Know thyself. There you go. Janet says, I am that. Indeed. And this isn't fake it till you make it. Janet, the identity, would not exist without this infinite intelligence giving the ability to make that choice. When Janet says, I am that, that is know thyself. I am the spoon. I am the wood. I am the life experience. I am the observer of it, and I am the giver of it. I am that. So once we start to come into this immense power, you'll start to understand a couple things that are very powerful. One, our identities are creations made by us through our entertainment of the imagination. We decided that this string of words was going to have meaning. Everything that I'm saying to you now, yet again, another string of words that's going to have meaning. Same thing with your name. Same thing with all of the indoctrinated schooling, every bit of belief systems, all a decision through the imagination that it's part of you. If it weren't a part of the imagination first, it would not be a part of you. Unawakened is giving a life situation, and this is no judgment at all. It's simply an exercise of infinite power. Without consciousness, these words cannot appear on the screen. We have the Enki gene to overcome the Draconians. You know, I'll tell you, I had a very powerful entheogenic experience once, and the person that I thought was a clear-born human actually spoke a lot like a serpentine reptilian character that I had never seen and heard before in my life. But it seemed that those layers had dropped. But once again, this is just William Vincent Carlton explaining to you something. It's not like I have the true book of how to understand Draconian language, but I think I heard it too. Hello, Kathleen's Corner, and that's not to belittle it. It's to simply say, holy moly, there are things out there that we are filtering out in order for us to maintain some anchor in this world. Imagine if everyone suddenly appeared and started showing their true colors as divine beings, what we would do. We'd probably freak the hell out. So we got to keep things anchored. In order for us to know ourselves over a short period of time and have a very pleasant life experience, this entheogenic portal, as it were, has to be throttled in a way. So this is what we get. This is as close as we can get to it going wild without it going wild. But we can certainly make it go wild, right? You create a change of consciousness by introducing something to your body, and what ends up happening is the floodgates open. You start to see something that is a bit higher in dimension that otherwise wouldn't be there. Or you can introduce something to your body to try to deaden it, to try to mask it, to black it out. Once again, you have yourself a beautiful life experience in which you're experiencing a change of consciousness. We are here to know ourselves. We are here to see how far we want to take it, how much spice we want to add to our dish, and how bland we wish for it to be as well. And we're constantly changing when it comes to that decision. Some days we might want to have a whole boatload of capsaicin to literally experience a rebirth through the pain receptors going awry, fully active, and convincing us that we are melting as if lava has been swallowed. 15 minutes after that, the endorphins come in and say, you do not die. You thought yourself to have been dead or have died, but you do not die. Welcome to endorphin land. That's what happens with capsaicin. Capsaicin isn't burning you. Capsaicin is activating the sensitivity of your pain receptors. And so what comes in is the pain that wasn't there before because it was being masked. We open up those doors. We open up those gates. That's what capsaicin does. And then we have enough of it. And then the endorphins come in and remind us that we're alive. Unawakened 450 says, I am not a draconian. I'm just telling you who's in control of this planet. Go follow Holistic Remedies, Billy Carson and Christos Avatar. So it's okay. Listen, I'm not arguing with you. This is the idea here. This is not for me to dismiss, mock, judge, or misname something that's going on here. What I believe is you unawakened are two things. One, you are the infinite intelligence that powers unawakened to have an identity and a collection of life experiences. That identity, I believe, is telling me what it is. I am not a draconian, just telling you who's in control of the planet. This is a narrative. I'm not in opposition to the narrative. In fact, I'm open to it. That's why I pinned it. The bottom line is this: it's being fed by consciousness. We are given direct access to that consciousness to program it to see itself into creation through the imagination. And that's our infinite power. That's all I would want for us to understand between each other, because through that you have a kingdom and I have a kingdom. We don't have to trespass on each other's kingdoms. If you say to me, if you don't believe that the reptilians are here to get you, then you will meet ultimate peril. Here's what will happen. It's likely you will perceive me as being taken by some aliens in the woods here, lifted off and never to be seen again, and you get to see the last live broadcast of that. At the same time, some part of me in my timeline, which already has the conviction that I don't die, that I know there's an infinite intelligence that carries me through all life situations. Like Schrodinger's cat, I am the cat that is alive in the box. You don't see it. You see the dead cat. I keep going in my timeline. You see me being taken by the Draconians. And at the same time, you've trespassed with your infinite power upon my kingdom of heaven. You've seen me perish based on your thoughts becoming real. This scenario is what is referred to as trespassing. It does nothing to me. In truth, I carry on. In truth, I turn and I fend them off. I hold up my hand and a blast ray of light comes out. And those who believe that I am not going anywhere will witness this from their screen. While those who believe it's the end of me, it's my demise, and boy, oh boy, is this going to be a crazy thing for the news. Everyone's going to hear about it. Poor guy, he can't see his kids again. Oh, I didn't realize that was the case. Perhaps I could have thought differently. These are all timelines of infinite possibility that are constantly unfolding through God's manifold expression. If you think this isn't a capability of God, then you're seeing it as limited. It is infinite. So all of these timelines are possible, and they can certainly roll out at the same time. We reset as human beings when we believe ourselves to be victims of peril. We start over again because our belief system has fed us a restart. That's called an incarnation. If you get to the point where you understand that you are pure consciousness, there's no more incarnation. It's resurrection and the enjoyment of the end credit roll of a wish-fulfilled life. I am that. I am. As an identity and as the source feeding it. Whoa. Talk about synchronicity. Talk about synchronicity. Musak says, I'm seeing all of us making it. Indeed, Musak. And that is your narrative. This is your narrative. And it's your own use of your kingdom of heaven. Most of what we talk about has to do with trespassing. That we are given the imagination exclusively. Human by human has their own individual imagination that can never be interfered with unless we decidedly allow it. If we decidedly allow it, then we are offering our kingdom to another who already has a kingdom. It's a moot point to offer an infinite kingdom to another person who has an infinite kingdom. That makes us into slaves. That's not why we're here. Every perspective is necessary, correct, Tokyo, because everyone has their own kingdom of heaven. We are all individual gamers playing our game. Nothing in truth can be done to us to destroy us permanently. Consciousness doesn't work that way. We do not die in the truth of essence. And we all build narratives around it. We all do. Unawakened, you too are a very wise being. And you know, I got to tell you, Unawakened, I'm not joking around when I say to you, I should make a hat out of this. I'm not joking. I think this is, wow, that's a tuft of fur. I mean, this is oh boy, that's an animal. Okay, we're not going to look at that. Oh boy, we are not going to look at that. Whoo! Woo-wee! Nope. I flipped that around, and I'm glad I flipped the camera before I did. Because that was a community violation in the making. Masak, 1978, says, well, I think someone took my kingdom that already had a kingdom because I was unaware I had a kingdom. I love this. This is one of the best comments I've ever read because there's truth in it. And I think that we're basically twins when it comes to this narrative. And I think most of us fall into this camp. We thought at first someone took our kingdom, someone who already had a kingdom, because we were unaware that we had a kingdom to begin with. This is the meaning of life. It's so beautifully said and understood. We all have a kingdom, but we're unaware of it. In fact, it's this same lack of awareness that got Jesus of Nazareth into a big bit of trouble. It led to his own crucifixion. Because people didn't realize they had their own kingdom of heaven within. They assumed when he was saying, I am the king of my domain, and my kingdom is not of this world. They assumed he was talking about being a king of some world that he was about to impose upon the rest in trespassing. It was not the truth. But because people had forgotten that they had their own kingdom of heaven, that they were actually using it to make these decisions already, it led to the crucifixion of someone who was trying to give the message in the most clear of ways that the kingdom of heaven is within you, that you must become like a child in innocence in order to access it. You must want to love your neighbor as yourself, truly. See them as infinite and as limitless, and within the right to become anything they desire. But it is their right. That's why he asked the Father for their forgiveness. It wasn't because they were throwing stones. It wasn't because he was just torn up by the Roman prefectorates. It wasn't because they placed a thorn crown on his head. It wasn't because they beat him all night. And it certainly wasn't because they were putting vinegar before him instead of water and hammering him into a cross to die. He was not talking about those things. He was talking about people being unaware that they had their own infinite kingdom and they were placing themselves in a place of restriction unknowingly. So he says, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. It's not like just forgive them because they're such sinners. No, it's please forgive them because they don't even realize that the kingdom of heaven is within them, exclusively within them, each person having their own. That was the great error. Otherwise, they wouldn't have crucified him, of course. There would be no trespassing. To each their own. There's no limit, so there's no need to trespass. There's no limit, so there's no need to envy. There's no limit, so there's no need to steal or to fight someone. There's no limit to the protection. There's no limit to the abundance. There's no limit to the health. So there's no need to take it away from anyone. This was the idea. People just didn't know they had it. People still don't know. So what I try to do is I explain to you how it's working, how it works in nature and how it works in your body, how you came into being as an identity. Through these little doorways, you can start to see something more, start to come into being. Bilal, Shar, Ali, Jut, and Yusuf Khan, thank you for inviting me. I have to tell you, every day the invites come right at this time when we're here in the woods. It's synchronistic, it's cyclical, it's rhythmic, and I appreciate you sending me the invites because for the life of me, I don't know how to turn off the invites before the live. It's every day. And you can go back and watch these on YouTube and you can say, okay, we're about this far in. This is exactly where the invites come. And that should give you some reassurance that life is rhythmic and we seek out these rhythms because it's a song made of frequency. Tokyo says they end up shooting the messenger. Shooting from the hip, yes. Asking questions later, indeed, Tokyo. And this is why Jesus asked for everyone's forgiveness. Because it was the lack of using the law of assumption, assuming that we have infinite possibility within us. BK Bapp says religion really closed off people's ears to this. I'm having a time. Good. I'm glad that you're here. I have to tell you folks that you're looking at a human being through your screen, and I've had life experiences and an accumulation of them. I have a name just like everyone else. That name is William Vincent Carlton. Thank you very much, Angelica, for the heart me. Thank you for saying these things. I have this identity, and at the same time, I was led to believe that the solution to my problems and my woes and my difficulties was outside of me. This was the basic indoctrination for most of my life. Until about, I would say, 5 or 6 years ago, I didn't truly come in to understand that everything that I believed was out to get me was in fact being created by me, not my identity, but by an infinite intelligence that loved me so much it would have no problem with me sending myself into the abyss. It's the only way that it can work. The only way that we can be granted access to infinite intelligence is if it has no discrimination, no bounds or limits. It has to be the same for everyone. So we're all given this equal opportunity, which is really beautiful. Talk about equal opportunity. We have the equal opportunity to impress the subconscious to manifest what we desire. And we do it anyway. Now, whether or not we do it as conscious beings or asleep at the wheel, not knowing what we do, it still is expressed. And so that's why we do these talks. We come into the awareness of our aliveness. And folks, I gotta tell you, if you understand that you can observe you are alive, this is an advanced spiritual practice. Your ego won't want you to believe this, but if you are actually observing that you're alive right now, you're actually exercising a form of Zen Buddhism, which is highly advanced. A lot of people don't get it. Like, yeah, okay, I see that I'm alive. All right, I did it. I did the exercise. Like, hold on a second. That is a major shift. It is understanding now that you have a kingdom of heaven within you and that you have become it by witnessing it. That's not some trivial thing. Though the world outside you would want you to believe that because you just tasted your infinite power for a moment and it doesn't want you to get used to it because it's not used to it. First of all, it can't see that kingdom because only you are granted exclusive rights to it as aliveness. And at the same time, it also has a routine. It has all of this routine of us being built into restriction and limitation, that it wants that to continue because it is comfortable. It's a comfort zone to be in limitation. We can relate to one another. We can find camaraderie. We can be codependent. We can invade each other's territory and believe that it's okay to do so. We can do all of these things. We can see ourselves as limited and find ourselves navigating a world where we believe we have to adhere to external circumstances in order to be saved. We can believe that our salvation is outside of ourselves. And there's a lot of instantaneous gratification that comes from that, more so than ever today. The instant gratification is there. All you have to do is talk about your woes and problems. Immediately you'll have a group of people that are responding to you to say, that's really unfortunate. Most of the things that we see on social media that take off, they have to do with this very subject. Woe is me. Someone please help. I can't believe this happened to me. I don't know what to do. Someone out there save me. I've asked God 1,000,000 times. God doesn't seem to care. Woe is me again. It's very enticing. It's very appetizing. It's also extremely contagious. Very, very contagious. Vicky says you're helping me so much with real perspectives, and here's the real perspective. Thank you, Vicky. I want to show gratitude. I also want you to know that where it's coming from is your aliveness, sending you a feedback loop. I'm just connected to a radio station. You're listening to the radio station, and it's delivering to you something that makes sense for your empowerment. So you are co-creating it, and you are receiving it because your heart is open. Once again, another exercise of Zen. iCal says it is enabling. So yes, the idea that we would be enabled by seeking salvation outside of ourselves. Indeed, iCal. This is very, very poignant. To be enabled is to be saved by something outside of ourselves. because we feel it is unbearable for us to be present with it. We must be saved by something else that gives us either distance from it or closeness to it, but it's our salvation that comes outside. That's called enabling. So the way that this works is we constantly are seeking our salvation outside of ourselves. This is the same as partaking from the fruit, the temptation. It's the temptation that we are coming into now. We are tempted to be saved by things outside of ourselves because they apparently exist now, and we feel we can get access to them through some form of miracle that is outside of our range and ability to manifest. So what we do is we seek out the salvation outside of ourselves, and suddenly things appear. So we believe this to be true. The manifestation has occurred. But the real truth is we are exercising God's given power in order to draw out the whole scenario. And it could be coming down to a coin toss that answers the prayer, but that coin toss might be enough to convince someone that they should be reverent towards a God outside of them. And that is what the devil himself wants. The devil wants you to feel the temptation to give up your God-given power, forget about your kingdom of heaven within, and instead find it more enticing to be told you can be saved if you just adhere to all of these rules, partake in this temptation, and separate yourself from the source that feeds you this narrative. And in doing this, we basically fall. We fall from grace. We fall into the world of randomized wish fulfillment. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But we are afraid that if we don't adhere to the rules, we won't have this wish fulfillment for much longer. All the time we have used our imagination for the creation of this, neglected it. In its truth, because it's infinite, it could have resolved, and it can resolve, and it does resolve anything that we put as a priority. You must live with the assumption of your wish fulfilled. That's how we begin. We begin by asking the Lord for the things that we want, by assuming we are having them already. We assume ourselves into the role and position of the wish fulfilled state. It's called the law of assumption, as described by Neville Goddard. Mariam, it's great to see you. Blessings. Says gratitude is so important. So here's what gratitude is. Gratitude is stating when you have decidedly chosen something is beneficial for you and you want more of it. So the way that the subconscious is going to know that you want more of it is you use your words of power, I am, in order to say what it is you like. And when you affirm what it is that you're liking and you assume to be living with it from the end, then you are making a proper prayer. That is a real ask. And so gratitude is confirming that you have what it is you desire and you are very happy to have it. That is the way that you use the law of assumption with gratitude for manifestation. And it's a great point. Thank you, Mariam. And welcome. It's good to see you, Mariam. Lori 4440. I'll try that again. Lori 4440. Thank you for the heartbeat. I call says, yes, I've read Goddard, so you probably have this foundation. It's a good manual for the game of life. Wow, we're already getting halfway through the goal today. Cassie 19891, thanks for following. Catherine makes a beautiful affirmation of worth by saying, I am abundant, I am already abundant and infinite, I have all within. This is a beautiful affirmation of truth. And it is true, because there is no limit. This statement is using I, the infinite, A, the active, M, the maternal womb, manifests abundant and infinite already, i.e. now. I have all within. Just a deeper affirmation of truth coming back. This is the feedback loop. This is the programming language, impressing the subconscious. Okay? Beautiful. Very good. Not only that, as everyone sees it, and I draw attention to this, it creates coherence which means if we believe Catherine, the identity, to be fed these things, which is a desire, abundance, infinite wealth, having all, we are adding coherence to this because our focus on this is focusing light. And when you focus light, like a laser, coherence makes it stronger and says this is the priority for manifestation, not just for Catherine, but for the collective. Now, if you step into your manifestation zone, the imagination, you can do the same thing. You put out an affirmation in the same way. We all read it and we add coherence to it because we're loving our neighbor as ourselves. It's a selfish thing, but it's also what we want. We want everyone to be just as abundant, understanding that our kingdom of heaven is infinite. We don't have to encroach upon each other's kingdoms, and that the Lord always finds a way, which is the law. The law is you become what you think about. As you know yourself in truth, you become what you think about. This law is simply impressing itself in a beautiful newfound way where everyone has their abundance so long as we're in coherence with each other. One mind and one accord, this is it. I truly believe, I call, that we have already reached unity consciousness and that we become what we think about. We have been rolled back into this retro gaming experience where we experience separation and duality because it's so damn entertaining. And it's amazing to feel it. But I believe that we have thrust ourselves from unity consciousness into this experience, and we do it all the time. But consciousness itself has to be first in place before we can have this life experience. So what this says is all possibility is there. Therefore, we're likely having an experience that has been generated through consciousness in order to experience limitation through a physical body. So it's a really fun game of life. Handy Dandy 920, thanks for the follow. Chair says, nature is healing. Indeed it is. Let's talk about it. Catherine Align says, a beautiful reflection of the infinite expression. Thank you. Indeed, Catherine, this is just your feedback loop coming back to you, giving you this goodness. Absolutely, though. I'm loving being a part of it, just like I get to be a part of an audience watching someone paint their magnum opus. This is you in wish fulfillment. Morgan, thank you for sharing. And let's see. I think we got caught up here. Tango, thanks for the heart me and for following. Brizzo, thanks for following. Randy says, love that way of explaining gratitude. Thank you, Randy. Most of these things have come in the woods. Most of these. Morgan says, I'm so sick today, feeling awful. Happy to see you on. So let's do the math equation if you're up for it. But Morgan, it might just be like, you might want to feel a day where you experience sickness. And that's okay too. It's your kingdom. My feeling is I would love for you to feel totally renewed and good so that you can have the functionality of your body, mind, and spirit. So I'm going to say, without trespassing, I would love to imagine you in perfect health. So I'm going to selfishly do this along with other people to see your health come into being, knowing this is your truth. Jennifer, same with you. We're going to put this on here. Jennifer, as much as you're using your infinite power to get you to this state of being, because I do believe you to be infinite in your expressions and abilities, I am going to see you as perfect health today. And it's selfish because I love when people are mobile, happy, healthy, and feeling wish fulfilled. Let me be crucified for such wants. I'm fine with it. Let me be crucified for wanting your wish fulfillment and perfect health. How's that? And Icall says, amen, so mote it be. There it is. And people seeing the wellness, the law of assumption is that wellness is here. Nature is my medicine, says Icall. And this is a narrative which says, when I am in nature, I heal. That's basically the programming language at use. And once again, folks, we're not saying this is good or bad, any of this. We're not saying I am sick is bad. We're not saying I'm healthy is good. We're not. We're saying I am is the use of infinite power. It's a programming language being thrown out there, and God's manifold expression is expressing it. That's all it is. Once again, to each their own. We all have our own kingdom. And certainly I'm not alone when I want a day to just be in bed, not do much, be a lazy bum, and maybe have a little sniffle so that someone kind enough will make me some chicken soup. I like that idea of being pampered like a child. So I might just manifest that one of these days. Let's say hello to a tree. Okay? Speaking of I heal in nature, let's talk about the truth behind this. This simple act of connecting with this tree. The earth is negatively charged on the surface. This tree is releasing that negative charge as an extension, as an antenna. And so when I say negative, I don't mean bad. Better for you to see it as free life, free electrons. Electrons, think of them like the womb of creation, nutrients flowing from the umbilical cord to your star child. That's how you can think of electrons. The way they work is they're constantly curving around and seeking unity, seeking some place to be received. They pass through the surface of the hand and start to bind to cell structures in your body, so that a positively charged free radical cannot take a seat in this game of musical chairs. Thus, it must drop out and no longer have influence over your body. So we want these free electrons to come through. Thank you, love. We want these free electrons to come through, and they come through in the woods with great abundance. You see all these antennae pulling up and releasing free electrons or negative ions into the atmosphere, into the environment. And so you're surrounded by them when you walk in the woods. Now, if you go near a body of water, whether it's an ocean, a waterfall, or a running stream, you're also going to have a great number of free electrons through the bombardment and clashing of water released into the air. So one of the best things you can do for your health, for the reduction of inflammation, and for mood elevation, is to combine sunlight, which is an anesthetic and is anxiolytic or anti-anxiety. It also converts cholesterol into vitamin D for the transport of calcium throughout your bones and your body. You're getting this in addition to the free electrons. You're getting exercise by walking, and you're doing repetition, which gets you into a flow of rhythm for synchronistic events to occur. You can contemplate and go into the infinite source of creation, go into the imagination and start to see yourself using the law of assumption, living from the end as a wish-fulfilled being. All of this falls into something called coherence, which impresses the subconscious mind to deliver your wish fulfillment. So it's a great practice to be here in the woods. And it is healing for all intents and purposes. Everything in your body. Okay? Rose, thanks for the rose. Boobs is getting bored here. So everyone look at boobs. There you go. Feel entertained now. I know. Thank God you didn't have to pay for this discourse. It's only going to save you. Bennett, thanks for saying greetings to Brandon. Brandon, thanks for the share and welcome. Catherine says, my God, I love trees. You are not alone. Brandon, thanks for the grand rising and live family indeed. Brandon, it is great to see you. By the way, Brandon, you might not want this. But I would love it if you would be so kind as to be a moderator. It looks like I have to filter out, but I would love to make you a moderator. I have to do this later. But Brandon, if you say yes, I would love to make you one. Conalingua, thanks for the goat. Lance81, thanks for following. Shell, thanks for following. KYJHG7, thanks for the share. Those boobs came and went. I know. Only so much entertainment at one time now here on this channel. We have to take it in stride. Annabelle, thank you for following. My breath is yours, says Catherine. We are sharing that with the trees. That is very kind of you and romantic, I think. Let's see. Kimmy, thanks for following. Hello, beautiful being who alchemizes light into nutrients and oxygen. Oh, it wasn't being romantic to me. It was to the tree. You see how that is? I stepped right into that. I stepped into the poop. Now I'm trying to wipe it off my shoe. And now I've made everyone blush, including myself. That's life. Talk about entertainment, Boobs, right? Thanks for following. You see, that got me a follow from Boobs. Boobs followed me because I did that. Conalingua says they were fake too. You see how we've gone down the drain today, folks? Jamila, Selena, laughing. I'm glad that I can be of entertainment value for you all today. I want you to stay. I want you to hang around. Destiny, thanks for following. Brandon would be honored to be a beautiful moderator. It's happening. Conalingua, do you accept the offer? It's not like it comes with anything glorious as much as occasionally you'll see someone come in and say, hey, check out my nudes in the bio, or someone like the host will say something erroneously to beautiful people like Catherine, who's just trying to connect with the trees who are more majestic and angelic than I am, and ruin the whole damn thing, and it just crashes and burns, but we can learn from it. Tina, thanks for following. BK Bab says, speaking of healing, you have a really soothing voice. I assume you're talking about the trees, BK, so I don't get myself in any more trouble than I'm already in. Okay, everybody, I think we're caught up. Let's get back to business here. All right. Thanks for all the love, everybody. We're at 19,900 feet. Make that 20,000 feet above sea level. Bam, it happened that fast. We are cooking, and what this is going to do is it's going to tell the algorithm on TikTok to send more people our way, more people to see how we are just using our infinite power for the creation of life experience. And if you're wondering what the hell that means, you're not alone. We all have egos just like you, and all of our egos are constantly questioning things and looking for answers and trying to find a way to navigate this life because we fear death. We fear obliteration as egoic selves. But that's not all of us. I mean, it's all of us, but it's not all we are. We are actually more than just our collection of life experiences. And by being here, you will soon come into this understanding as we are 21,900, make that 22,000 feet above sea level. Catherine coming in saying, I send love to trees and all beings, including you, William. See, even William doesn't have to be chopped liver in the world of Catherine, who is aligned with her kingdom of heaven within. I am deeply grateful for this offering, Catherine, and I receive it. And it's helping my face to reduce its flush from the great error that I made in my misreading of things. Thank you. Scylla says, you are so dang cute. And I'm imagining that you're talking about the trees. I get it. I thank you. I am jealous on their behalf through you. Penny Hill, thank you for following. BK says, well, briefly. Oh my gosh. This is, all right, fourth wall break. Greg, thanks for following. It's too much. It's good. We need it from time to time. We need it from time to time. Oh, man. Sorry, I admit the fact that I am more than just an egoic self. If I were just an egoic self, this would be a train wreck. That's truth. These trees put up with me. Obviously, I can walk past them and they can't go anywhere. So they have to be like my built-in audience every day. And at the same time, they're taking the garbage that comes from my mouth and they convert it into vital oxygen just to say, I told you so. There are some things that are greater than you, little man. Thank you, trees. I appreciate the humble lesson on this day. Have some more of my garbage. No problem, William. Why don't you come over here and pull this damn vine that's been stuck to me all my life? Can you please remove this? You're not going to fool me, tree. I know that that's poison ivy and it's just about to spout out and bud. You're not going to fool me, pal. See? This is how they work. So come on, this poison ivy, this vine. It's just a vine, but it's stuck to me. Pull it off. It's choking me. Oh, fooled me once. Fooled me once, tree. Sarah invites me to co-host. Thanks, Sarah. I don't know who you are. That doesn't mean that that's a bad thing. But I would love to know who you are, Sarah. Why don't you tell us? And I'll let the community decide whether or not you are to be a guest. And there will be no battles. I say that now. Brizzo says, what can I tell myself to be free from substance use? Sure. This is a good question. I'm going to shift into a serious mode for a little bit. I'm sorry. Okay. Brizzo, here's what we do. So instead of telling your ego that you are free from substance abuse, I want you to instead use the law of assumption right now. But what we do is we reset the nervous system first to get into learning mode, to teach your body and to teach your identity that is no longer the CEO of your life. Here's how we do it. I give everyone the birthday cake exercise because it works really well. Close your eyes and imagine a birthday cake before you. See the candles lit? Take a deep breath, blow out those candles. Open your eyes, look at your hand before you. Close your eyes and try to imagine your hand there. Open your eyes, look at your hand. Close your eyes, try to imagine your hand before you. Feel its aliveness. Open your eyes, look at your hand. Close your eyes, imagine there being a birthday cake before you. Deep inhale, blow out the candles. Now, we got pedestrians coming. We got to cook. They're going to think strange things of me. Like, all right, just let them be. What I want you to do now is try to imagine a state of being where you see yourself free of all vices. And beyond that, you are enjoying being freed of them. As you are enjoying being freed of all vices, you find yourself wealthy perhaps, mobile, vacationing, living in the perfect home, in the perfect state of health and wish fulfillment. Whatever this is, I want you to imagine this now. And as you are doing this, simply pulling in these images, I want you to be in body. I don't want you to see this from above. I don't want you to see this from some distance. I want you to live it as if you are there and not here, not in the state of, I guess we could call it addiction, but instead the perfect state of living. Go there now, and even if you feel like you're faking it to make it, like you're doing these things because you have to do it as an exercise, it's totally fine. The ego has a grip. That's all it is. Totally fine. All I want you to do anytime something alarming comes in, if it does, is you say, that doesn't move me as much as I observe I'm alive as wish fulfilled. That doesn't move me as much as I am wish fulfilled. I am wish fulfilled. I am observing my wish fulfillment. I'm enjoying my wish fulfillment. I am living in it. I'm adding details to it. I'm removing details from it. I'm in control over it. And this other story doesn't move me as much as I observe I am in my power. Okay? Keep on that. And what we're going to do at the same time is we're going to start to bring awareness to the breath. And you bring awareness to the breath, which is an exercise to keep you in the present moment so that this impresses the subconscious. That's all we're doing as a trick. The trick is I observe I am alive through breathing. So every time you breathe in, you're going to say to yourself, I'm breathing in. Every time you breathe out, you're going to say, I'm breathing out. And do this in your mind, obviously. You're not going to be speaking to yourself while you're doing this, but just imagine this exercise. I'm breathing in. And I'm breathing out. You're adding details. You're living from the end. You're exercising the law of assumption. And this is how you tell your body that you're no longer an addict. This is how you tell your cells that you are no longer subject to external circumstances that you have no control over. The beauty of this is that the cells of your body, which are your devotees, and you have about 50 trillion of devotees, these cells, the beauty of this is that they just listen to everything that you say. And when you go into this place in the imagination, in the mind of God, which has no limit or restriction, What's actually happening in that moment is you are taking your cells on vacation into the state of being wish fulfilled. They believe themselves to be on vacation from whatever the turmoil was before. This phenomena is called epigenetics. And the way this phenomena works is, as you think, your cells become. They literally feel this change of environment. They're coming into a state of belief that they have taken a vacation physically, and they have taken a vacation physically. So that's what's going on. All you got to do is stick with it. What you're doing through this exercise is you're providing an imprint onto the subconscious, which will never, ever judge you, doesn't judge anyone. It's non-judgmental. It simply is life-giving. Think of it like the earth. So the earth is non-judgmental and life-giving. If a seed is under the right condition, it shall be expressed as tree, and the blueprint within that seed is determined by the gene of the tree, right? So every seed that we think of as wish fulfilled is a seed with a blueprint. It's seen for its entire harvest through the imagination, because the imagination is limitless. However, its expression in the physical world requires what is perceived as a duration or a time sequence. So it's going to have its beginning germination, it's going to have its vegetative growth, it's going to have expansion, it's going to have fluorescence, and then it's going to have fruit. And during that fruiting, you are going to harvest. So instead of seeing that whole process as limiting or say hurdles that you have to jump over, you're just going to go right to harvest. That's what the law of assumption allows you through the imagination. You can just go to that state of perfection and live it as long as you want to live it. And by doing that, you're actually going into your garden in truth and leaving what I refer to as the daily footprint. And we do this. Every 116 of us, for the most part, we come here as consistent as I walk in these woods, which is daily, and we make our daily footprint in the imagination. And what's really beautiful about this is that we're doing this in coherence with each other. Where your kingdom might have wish fulfillment that's totally different to mine, we're all in coherence, that we're using our nation of images, we're using our kingdom of heaven individually with coherence every day, focusing light on the things that we desire by assuming them to be real. And so it's not just us doing the individual work, we are in coherence with each other, which is strengthening the power of light that is being focused on manifestation. The result is massive shifts in people's lives, starting with the body and then expressing itself outward. And we're already seeing it every day. Everyone is experiencing it because we're loving ourselves. That's a form of self-love. It's the greatest form of self-love, is to live with the law of assumption for a period of time to where you feel the difference with your body, and then you know the cells have experienced it and believe themselves to be there. Leaves a huge impression. Still Susie says, handsome guy. Thank you, Susie. Ashes to Stardust. I'm just embarrassed by it, Susie, because it's so kind. Ashes to Stardust, thanks for following. Peace and blessings, everyone, says Sunflower Goddess. I'm going to pin this so that I'm no longer embarrassed by the comment coming from Still Susie, which was so nice. Brandon, thank you for sharing. And Spiritual C says, the timing of this is amazing. Welcome to Synchronicity, Spiritual C. Glad to have you in co-creation with us. We love NYC. Thanks for following. Cher's getting a note from Divine Within. I just got here and I'm loving it too. I love to read that. Cher, thank you. I'm enjoying this fam. Indeed, it is a family of wish-fulfilled state. We're coming in here understanding we all have an estate to manage. We all are kings and queens of our domain. It is the imagination, and we're getting used to the idea of feeling good about that. That's really it. Burnt, thanks for following. Jennifer, thanks for following. Divine Within, thanks for the love, the heart me. Thank you for whoever just said that over, and for the follow, Divine Within. Catherine Aligns says to Brizzo, you're already well and whole and don't need anything outside of yourself. This is the affirmation confirmation. Beautiful exercise of power coming from Catherine. This wins all chess games right here. All chess matches come to the end because you become the board when you are already well and whole. It doesn't matter which side you might perceive yourself to be on. You are the game itself. There's nothing outside of you that isn't already you. Jennifer, thank you for following. We've got a bunch of people coming in for the first time, and it's really lovely to have you all here. Welcome. In case you're wondering what's going on, we're just working on the imagination, and that's really the summary. And the imagination, we're decidedly saying it is limitless because it's only limited until we put limits on it. So it gives us an infinite kingdom to work on constructing our lives. The beauty of this is the cells feel where we are in the imagination through epigenetics. This has been studied and proven and continues to be studied and proven through the work of Dr. Bruce Lipton, Dr. Joe Dispenza, and Dr. Deepak Chopra. Those are like the three that really come to mind initially. But we've been talking about we become what we think about since the dawn of Scripture. No matter what your belief system is, it has this in its writings. So we're just tapping in. Angelica says, I can touch poison ivy and it doesn't cause any reaction. People are surprised. I'm not surprised, Angelica, based on the way that you've spoken about nature and your convictions. And you know, truth be told, if I had the same mindset, as I adopt the same mindset, I can in fact do the same, I'm sure. I believe. And that's what it's about. This was Jesus of Nazareth going to people's houses, and he said, listen, my dad is blind, please heal him. And he goes, all right, puts his hands on him and says, only believe. And sometimes it would work and sometimes it wasn't. And it had nothing to do with Jesus not having power. It had to do with the person's individual kingdom could not accept the idea of having sight. And that was the conviction that overrode everything else. And so it's to each their own. We all have our own kingdom, and healing and ability is determined by us individually. We are no longer victims of external circumstances unless it's something we want. And if it's something that we want, we allow it to happen. Nobody's going to mess with anybody else's kingdom. That's called trespassing. So if you want to be a victim of external circumstances, God knows I was that for like 35 years, 36 years. I was the most incredible complainer. I was a total victim. I did all of those things that you could imagine someone thinking in order to bring their life into peril, and it worked. It worked so well that I got so tired of being in pain and suffering and losing the things that mattered to me that I no longer accepted the narrative. I no longer wanted it to be my narrative. And so what I did was I started to rebuild it. I took responsibility over it, and I started to rebuild it. To where I am right now is in a place where I feel strong enough to be able to share with you the truth of your existence. I'm not afraid of what that's going to become. I know that you will use this power wisely because it's your own. It's the power that's been with you all along. Yeah, and this is a beautiful affirmation coming from my call right here. Look at this one. I am grateful for sovereign control over my life. This is this affirmation to me is a Joseph Murphy, Florence Shinn. This should be in every New Thought book as the first of affirmations in chapter 1. I am grateful, which is acknowledgement and thanks of the assumption being met. Grateful for sovereign control, which is a ruling control over my life situations. That's it, over my aliveness, everything. This should be right in chapter 1 of the New Thought book written by iCall. Jennifer, thanks for following. This is great stuff. Yeah, it's beautiful. Okay, let's see. So Perro, if you're still here, I pray that this answered your question of what you can do. It is live in the law of assumption as wish fulfilled. That is the big answer. And you know, this is how it works. The ego isn't going to like it because the ego is used to being fed. It is the way and the truth to all salvation, though it doesn't deliver salvation. It delivers pain. It delivers addictions. It delivers complete and total dominance over our lives. And it's just really a primrose path. A primrose path is a path that promises you salvation but never delivers. But it says keep following down the path. Go deeper. You have to keep looking into this story and you will find your salvation. And I guess there's some truth in that. It's called, I'm so deep in this hole, I'm just going to surrender that I'm here. I can't do anything about it, but go within. And the ego goes, no, I don't want you to go within. I can't see you in there. I need to see you also be wallowing in your pain here in the depths of despair and abyss, where you will find your salvation. It's just like the ego will not give up. It will try to convince you that it could provide you with salvation, but it doesn't ever do it. But it wants to convince you that it can. because it's never been granted access to the imagination. It's never really been granted access to infinite power to know the means and the way to your wish fulfillment. It can only go by what it's learned through sensory experience. And what it knows through sensory experience is we are victims, and we have been through shit. And we have been subjected to the worst of the worst stuff, and you can be betrayed at any moment. So we better stick together so we can make it through this betrayal. That's the best that your ego can do for you. It's pretty horrible, but it's the best they can do. Drenda says, God kept me here after stage 4 cancer. There you go, Drenda. And now you are coming into your power. You're in your power. And what Neon says, it was just before your comment, so it was synchronistic. Just before your comment. And so this is basically it. As the energy flows into wish fulfillment as perfect health, that's what happens. It's wherever the concentration is. I don't believe that you survived to experience again what you've been through. But that's my own projection. It doesn't have to be in agreement with your story. But if I were to be presented with the sea, then I would want it to be a one-time thing, and I would want it to be something that I overcome through faith. But that's my narrative. It's not anybody else's narrative. It is your own choice. And I'm not saying this. A lot of people say, oh, he's being sarcastic. He's being dismissive. He's saying this to be holier than thou. It's narcissistic in truth. You can see it. It's in his eyes. You can see it in his face. I've been watching him long enough to understand his truth. It's like, you also are given that right to have that narrative. It's also a right. Like at the same time, you know? That's what's beautiful about this. So Cupcake says, oh, Sage says, curious why you cared about the pedestrians' thought of you if you're a conscious creator of reality. It's a great point. Yes, that is my ego self still feeling threats from immediate environment. I also don't want to be on stage with people in this physical environment if I have the choice. But what it does is it unconsciously tests me to be able to be present with you while at the same time being more aware of the environment and also being sensitive to people being present and listening to me talk. So there's a part of me that feels fear of obliteration still because I'm still in a physical body. My identity is feeling the fear of obliteration by being judged by the people who are walking through the woods still. So you can see it and define it as he still has a lot of work to do. But the fact that I just acknowledged that and the response to your question with honesty shows that the process is being unwound. And that's a good sign, because it's a sign of presence. It's a good question. Yeah, it's a good question. That's what I just answered. So Mick Cupcake says, can you explain what ego is? So at the same time, I also recognize, Sage, that I'm not just William Vincent Carlton as an identity. I still have hypervigilance to certain things as narratives that I entertain, which just shows that there's work to do, which is great. It's like some muscle groups are going to be stronger than others. Some are going to be weaker, and we can simply expose ourselves to the uncomfortable situation, including calling me out is just as uncomfortable as being present with it. It's a great call out. And what it provides is an opportunity for us to all come into presence as, yeah, you know, William's also being fed aliveness to have this whole experience and to build the whole narrative. And he's more that in truth. In saying that, you can say you're actually saying the same about yourself and coming into your power greater. But once again, it's just a choice. It doesn't have to be that. It doesn't have to be that. My heart space says you have such a peaceful demeanor. I love it here. Thank you, my heart space. You are contributing to this. You are a co-creator. Neon says to Cupcake, the ego is your identity separate from source God consciousness. This is correct. This is an affirmation of truth based on what was just discussed. And it pins basically that we have an identity that, however it's part of our lives, it could be considered as thrust upon us or thrown onto our lives without our control, and that would be part of the narrative. The bottom line is consciousness is feeding it. And consciousness also feeds its perpetuation. And it serves a purpose too, I would argue. There's a reason why we've collapsed from infinite presence, from infinity into this dualistic nature. And I believe it's because we get to have an amazing sensory experience. There's something to be said about having the rush of adrenaline coming into my body when someone's walking down the path and I'm kind of freaking out. At the same time trying to act cool to you. Like there's some thrill to that I still want, otherwise it wouldn't manifest, right? I want to have the time to explain to you what was going on in truth. I want that challenge too, because that also gives me a rush, and it also reaffirms what I'm saying in truth, that I'm coming into my being and coming into my power. So it works in all of these ways, to be honest to yourself. This is why it was great that you asked, you know? And Mark Twain used to talk about this. He's like, I don't have to lie. Oh, what was this? No, he said, you don't have to remember anything if you're telling the truth. If you tell the truth, you never have to remember anything, because there's no lie, there's no story. It's just presence. Truth is presence. So Cupcake, my heart space is explaining the ego is part. Read this here. The ego is part of you that is carnate. Yes, it's in the body, carnal. It's part of being in human body. Yep. And if we don't have a character, we can't play the game. So whether it's thrust upon us, it's something that's been forced upon us, or something that we've knowingly decided as evolved beings, we got to have a character in order to play the game of life. And that's how it works. So we all have one. The idea is, yes, we all have our game system. It's the human body, and it's miraculous and it's incredible, but it's also being powered by a developer. And that developer is more our truth. We are basically beta testers. We're testing out the game of life. We're making mistakes. We're making assumptions. Sometimes they go awry. Sometimes they are totally confirmed. At the end of the day, we're just recording life experience into a recording medium that is our DNA. And it serves for the evolution of human consciousness. So we've collapsed into a reduced form of our infinite power in order to find our way back. To find our way back into unity. And that's the game of life. And that's why we play it. We incarnate when we haven't figured it out in a single lifetime. And we keep doing it until we figure it out. That's one of the best parts. Every time we live it again, we've left an imprint, and we've left a bunch of data, a lot of life experience, and that data serves for the evolution of consciousness. Whether we leave children here, whether we create life, we're still leaving an impression. But I would say one of the greatest ways to archive your life is to have children. If you have children, you get a chance to archive your life. So it's great. Get to archive your ancestors, you know. Mesmer says it shows back up through intuition and emotion, feelings coming through in the body. Intuition, the gut, the second brain, absolutely. Did you do the breath work yet? You haven't done the breath work yet. Oh, thank you, Sunflower. Let's do it. Let's go back to where we were. I promised to give you all a breath work exercise today. Yesterday I promised this, so let's do it now. Thank you for the reminder, Sunflower. That's great. We'll do it now. Just going to take about 15, 20 seconds to get back to a place where we were, because it's the best place to give the lesson. Okay. Ben, thank you for following. And if I missed anyone, you can say, William, you missed me. Well, not anymore, I'll say. Gotcha. We are going to do a breathwork exercise now. This is called Shakti Yoga. This was taught to me by Dr. Joseph Michael Levry from Nam Yoga, the founder of Nam Yoga. And he taught this to me in 2012. So we're going to do it together. Just going to set up the camera here so we can do this in unison. Bear with me. Okie dokie. Little improvised yoga class. Okay. All right. Let's do it. So, best way to do this exercise is standing, if you can. And if you can be barefoot, even better. And if you can be in nature, even better. because you can ground yourself and start to receive the free electrons direct. We're going to do something called a mudra. And a mudra is a specific posture that you make with your hand. I want you to all see this. It's called Shakti Mudra. And what this is going to do is it's going to direct oxygen and electric current to the heart. And that's what we're going to be working on. We're going to be working on the heart. So you're going to take your thumb, tuck it as far over as you can, as close to the base of your pinky, and close the fist. So it's a closed fist on your thumb. You're going to do this with both hands. Extend over. And what you're going to do, come together with your feet and bring your hands to your side. And you're going to create what's called Tadasana. This is mountain pose. It's a modified mountain pose. You're becoming one circuit, a closed circuit with the body, okay? Just breathe normally. And what we're going to do, now some of you might have issues with your breath. You might have limitations with your mobility in your body, which is what I would say as a yoga instructor to you. If you've never done long, deep breathing before, if you've never done Shakti mudras or anything that I'm mentioning right now, if you've never done any postures, trust your body and understand you can always come into a relaxation posture called child's pose. And the way you do child's pose is you come down to your knees like this and just extend your arms forward. Head down and you breathe, okay? Do that and that will help to recover your breath as needed, because the work that we're about to do is a huge shift in your nervous system. It's an instantaneous activation of your parasympathetic nervous system that we're about to do, and can be very powerful and is very powerful. However, it can also be very alarming to experience this for the first time, which is why I just told you how to do child's pose in the event that you are new to this and need to take a seat. Okay, here's how we do it. Here's the instruction. We're going to be doing breathing through the nose in and exhaling out through the mouth. So we're going to be taking in oxygen through compressed air holes, the nose, exhaling out from the mouth. It's like this. This is going to seem very similar to the Wim Hof technique for people who've ever done Wim Hof. Hyperventilation, however you want to refer to it. When we come to the end of our cycle, I'm going to say take a deep breath in. You're going to suck in a bunch of air through your nose. And you're going to hold. Then you're going to suck in some more, and you're going to hold that. And only until I tell you to breathe out are you going to breathe out. And when that happens, I just want you to be still. I just want you to be still and experience the shift of consciousness. Okay? Thanks for all the folks who are coming in and following right now. Let's get to it. Coming into Shakti Mudra, once again, you're going to tuck your thumb in just below your pinky, closed fist, both sides. Bring them to your side, feet together. Draw the shoulders back. You're a circuit of energy, okay? Look at a point before you. It's called a drishti. It's a point of focus. I want you to look at one point and one point only for the entirety of this exercise. You're going to be concentrating your consciousness on one point. Take a deep inhale through the nose. More. Force the energy and the air into your lungs. More. Hold. Exhale out the mouth. Relax. Breathe normally. We're going to do very fast inhales and exhales. It's going to be like this. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. We're going to be doing this about 25 times. On the last, you're going to draw in and you're going to hold it. Then you're going to suck in more air like I just showed you. And you're going to hold for a duration. When you let go of that air, you will find that there's enough saturated oxygen in your body to where you can just be present and observe without taking in an in-breath. You will see this happen. You will experience this happen. All right, let's begin. Inhale. Inhale. More. Hold. Close your eyes. Exhale. Open your eyes, separate your feet, and just relax. Breathe in. Just notice as you breathe out the difference in your state of being from where you were before. It's an immediate switch of your conscious state of being, where once you were in a state perhaps of alarm or hypervigilance, now you're in a state of receptivity. And the way that you can do this is many-fold. We do this with the birthday cake exercise, where you close your eyes and imagine a birthday cake and you blow out the candles. But this form of Shakti Nam or Shakti Yoga, it works with the entire energetic body, and it is a dynamic shift. Let's do another round. Yeah, it's total serenity, Catherine says. Thank you. You're welcome, Catherine. It's going to want you to breathe deep. So do that. Neighbor says, thank you. You're more than welcome. Build this up to how many rounds as you want to do. If you start to notice a little bit of rattling with the out breath, you're right on the verge of passing out. Don't be afraid of it, but you're right on the verge of out-of-body experience. So take this in stride, build it over time, and you will find yourself, if you do this before sleep, having the deepest, most relaxed sleep of your life. Randy says that was amazing. Let's do one more. Is yawning normal? Yes, it is. It's very normal. It's telling your body that you are totally calm, totally safe, and what is being released right now in the form of endorphins is something called anandamide. Now, I can't mention what anandamide is as far as its receptors with the body, but it's part of a system in the body that's been around for millions of years, and it is the bliss hormone. So you're experiencing a dump of the bliss hormone. Let's do another round, okay? We'll make this the last one, and then we'll continue our walk. All right? Feet together. Coming back into Shakti Mudra. Now, if you want to do abundance, you want to bring some abundance in, you might want to do a different round. You're going to take your thumb, squeeze it between, it's the bathroom symbol for and sign. You're going to squeeze it between your index finger and your middle finger. This is called Ganesh Mudra, for bringing abundance in. So let's do a Ganesh Mudra. Bring it to your side. Feet together. Draw the shoulders back. Let's do one exercise breath. Deep inhale through the nose. Breathe in more. Really try. Make it the biggest inhale of your day. Hold it. Exhale. All right. Drishti point, you're focusing straight ahead. We're going to do our round. We're going to go deep on this one. Take it in stride. If you get dizzy, go down into child's pose and relax. This isn't a competition. It's an exercise for your strength. Let's begin. Inhale. Hold. More. More. Close your eyes. Exhale. Open your eyes. Spread your feet. Relax. Observe. Observe. This is an anandamide dump. Inhale. It's an anandamide dump. You're receiving bliss right now. This is what Wim Hof refers to getting high on your own supply. Forget about addictions. This will be the greatest, and it's done with your breath. We got some big talk coming in here. You're welcome, Warrior Priestess. Lisa, and we got something, Glass 317. Can I make a reality where people aren't upset men can't play women's sports? Well, Glass, something tells me you've got a great sense of humor, and that's what I'm picking up. I'm picking up the sarcasm in the form of humor, which dude, whoa, whoops. What's really wild about this is we just did the Shakti exercise, and normally, if this were happening, I'm be like, moderators, we gotta take care of this troll. What's good? No, it's like, no, it's just fun. Like, it's just narrative. It changes the way that everything is perceived. That sarcasm is seen in its heartfelt truth now from a simple breathing exercise. That's what I love about it. All right, let's keep going. We go on our walk now. So now you've got the technique, which is great. We got the technique now, right? That's good. Good. And besides, it's just a little bit of hazing, right? We haze each other because what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. And it's really just a form of compliment that you are accepted into a circle of trust. This is why we judge and haze one another. At the end of the day, we're all managing our own kingdoms anyway. Might as well play a few chess matches from time to time for entertainment purposes, right? In other words, no need to take it seriously. You've got your own kingdom to manage. Gael, thanks for the hand hearts. Sunflower Goddesses. Sunflower Goddess, it wouldn't have happened without your reminder. Namaste. Most grateful for you. I feel so blissed out right now. Morgan Land Maintenance, thanks for the 70 roses. Robin, thank you for the 3 roses. I take that as a 3-7 combo. Gladly accepted. Neighbor, thanks for the 1 rose. For that sun energy. Beautiful energy, 888. I take that as a further synchronicity of abundance happening after that Ganesh Mudra exercise, which was really cool. I felt good bliss from that one. Thank you for following. Gael says, so calming. I am with you. It's so blissful. It's so blissful. Cher says, so I did child's pose twice during that, and that's totally fine, Cher. This is not a competition. In fact, by going into child's pose, you're getting an inversion. As long as your head is below your waist, you're getting an inversion. All the blood and circulation and oxygen reaching areas that otherwise was not receiving it. It's very beneficial to go into child's pose. And it's not a bad thing by any means. It's restorative. It's a restorative inversion. Like a headstand is an inversion, it's the same. Like a forward bend is an inversion. Child's pose is the same. Except it's very relaxing and it's hip opening. So as you're going wider with your hips, it also works on the emotions that come from the sacral chakra. Helps for that release too. So it's great. David Avalos, thank you for following. Catherine says, I almost stumbled on my words there. I'm still blissed out. Thank you for saying I love the fun, Catherine. Me too. And Randy was laughing at Glass too, which was very funny. And We're all just, we're doing it. We're living life. Neighbor, thanks for all the... Keep on shocking me. Keep on shocking me. Keep on shocking me. That's my NPC iteration. Keep on shocking me. Keep on shocking me. Behaves, thanks for following. More yawning. More yawning coming in from Vicky. Vicky's ready to take a nap. All right. I think we're caught up now. Everyone's buzzed. Johnny's buzzed. Cosmic, thank you for following. That's an interesting way to spell cosmic, and I had to read it in order to hear it. Gigi says, gratitude, that was powerful. Indeed, so this is Morgan sending over the manifesting. Thank you, Morgan, for your generosity. It knows no bounds. So this is the thing, like, Shakti is the divine feminine. So when we're doing Shakti Mudra and Shakti breath, it's all about receiving. It's all about I'm receiving direct to the heart and the body what it is that I desire. So that's why it's so powerful. Anything Shakti is the divine feminine, which means it is receiving. It is a receiving exercise. Chris Danger Tyne says, Bliss keeps popping up for me. It's a great song video to watch by KSLR. Cool. Did I say the name right? I pray I did. Al is here. What's up, Al? Says, very relaxing indeed. And thanks for the follow, Chris. Let's see. We have a question coming. Can we do this with you every day as a group? 100%, Siamese. I'm happy to do it with the group every day. For sure. Addicted to Science. What's up? The snow is gone. Indeed it is. We're doing great today. We just did some very powerful Shakti breathing. It's a yogic practice we just did, and we all got our appropriate dumps of anandamide from the pineal gland, and I can't be happier. I'm still blissed out of my mind. Blissed out of my mind. In a good way. You want to be out of your mind, right? Because the mind is a minefield. How are you, Addicted? It's good to see you. Chris Dangertine says, if anyone's near Chattanooga, Tennessee, I'm looking for Kaigong friends. Very nice. All right, folks, let's get this pinned. Reach out there to Chris. That's beautiful. Nice to have that. I am in Connecticut, so it's a bit of a ride, but thank you. All right. So like all things blissful, there's a beginning, a middle, where it's most intense, and then there's the end. It's not sad. It's just life. So embrace it. Embrace every part of the journey, and know this. It's not like your breath is escaping you. It's not like your breath is going away. Without it, we have no life experience. So it means you can always return to it. And you can return to it to get as blissed out as you'd like. Your body does develop a slight tolerance. So what happens is, as you're becoming more tolerant of the blissful discharge of anandamide from your breath work, you have to increase the amount of breathing, the intensity, and the repetition. It's not a bad thing. It actually will expand your heart, it will expand your lungs, and it will bring vital nutrients to your body in ways that have not felt it in a long time. It will only increase your health. Okay? Eventually, you would want to get to your long, deep breathing practice to where you can draw an inhale for 20 seconds, sustain for 20, and then exhale for 20. And some would say the inhale has to be shorter than the exhale just naturally, and I get that. But the triangular breath, if it can equate to 1 breath per minute, this is like what Yogi Bhajan said, it equals immortality. If you can do a breath cycle that is 1 minute long between inhale, sustain, and exhale, you have reached immortality. Let's see. Anna, thank you for following. Let's listen for a second. That was dangling from the tree the other day. Perhaps you'll remember. It was way up in one of the trees. Let's go see what it is. Now it's on the ground. It looks to be a balloon. If I don't, who will? That is the question, right? Oh, you know what? I've seen those commercials. I've seen these commercials. Like, don't pick up the dollar bill. Don't pick up the tissue or the thing that's on your door handle. There is some truth to that. I get that. That's the spirit. There you go. Thanks. Well, it's for a reason, folks. If I don't do it, who will? But that was interesting because it was all the way up in these trees, I think 1 or 2 days ago. It's on the recordings. And now it was over here. So, Riza, thank you for following. King Balder says, yes, sir, I have a trail. I walk around and I'm always carrying an extra bag to pick up trash. This is awesome. That's great. Warrior Priestess says, if not you, then who? Oh, wow. That's one of my favorites. I collected trash treasures everywhere I go. This is awesome. And we got a reminder coming in from Rain that it's 3:33. Use that coherence. We can talk about the number 3. This is expansion. It's Jupiter energy, according to William Vincent Carlton, the identity. Thank you, Tyler, for that Zeus bolt. And the heart puffs. So think of something, folks, in your use of the imagination that would be expansive for you. Anything expanding. Anything that would bring you to a place where you feel wish fulfilled in its expansion. So it could be, I don't know, a raise at work. It could be an increase in your savings, success with investments. It could be the answer to your prayers with paid bills and you never have to worry about them. But whatever it is, you can start to focus on that through the Jupiter energy and imagine it being even faster, speeding its way to you, as they say. My place is the LHC. Please tell me what that is, Addicted to Science. Tell me what that is, so I know. Sometimes I get the acronyms, just not all the time. Old Harry 2, thanks for the follow. Let's see. I'm getting back into the practice to see who followed during that time. I think I got David. People are buzzing. I love this. User 959-226-88144438 says, Jesus loves you very much. Same to you. Jesus is my salvation. Glass says, can I make a reality where people aren't upset men can't play women's sports? Oh, we got that one. Mesmer, we got you. Angels cultivate love. Thanks for following. Red Jasper, thanks for following. X Mrs. Mary Jane X, thank you for following. Doran Hutchinson, thanks for the follow. Danielle Loberg, thanks for the follow. Heart-Led Beauty, thanks for following. Hey, brother, walking tall, says TJ Davis, right back at you. Ben, thanks for following. And now we're caught up. Now we're caught up. Large Hadron Collider. There we go. Oh, yeah. So the place that Addicted to Science goes to is this. It is, correct me if I'm wrong, we could talk about the Large Hadron Collider as a discourse in itself. However, it is a several mile long underground tunnel system. Where is it? Is it in Sweden? And they are constantly bombarding electrons, colliding them into one another. Am I not mistaken? And what has come from this has been a great number of discoveries, some of them very alarming, to say the least. So, Will Bird. Oh, that's CERN. Thank you. Yes, Jamie. That is CERN. I was mistaken the large. Now, is the Large Hadron Collider the device that sends the electrons through CERN? Please confirm with me, everyone. Will Bird, thanks for following. Yep. Jamie says CERN. It's in Hamburg, says Addicted to Science. So it's in Switzerland. Okay. All right. So, just to clarify, the Large Hadron Collider is the technological device that is colliding electrons through a large system or tunnel system that is referred to as CERN. Now, my understanding is because of the speed in which the electrons are colliding, it reduces the space to the electron to something that is much smaller in its distance traveled because of the speed in which it's traveling. Nearly the speed of light. The collisions are happening at a rate that is very fast, and the distance is required for that. In other words, the tunnel needs to be as big as it is, because as things are starting to travel closer to the speed of light, their spatial acuity changes. So the space starts to flatten out in a way because of its speed being close to light. Once you get to the speed of light, it's just unification with consciousness. Unified consciousness. But as you're getting very close, the distance decreases. Jennifer Amoni says there are tunnels to other worlds. This is speculated and seems to have done a lot of things. And so there's a lot to be said about this. Bose-Einstein condensate. Not only electrons, but protons and other things are collided into each other. Mesons, bosons, quarks, stranges, subatomic particles. Catherine says, super cool. What a time to be alive. Indeed, it is a wild time. The father says, many portals? All right. We all have our narratives. Let's see if we can join them. Okay? Let's go back into history a little bit when it comes to CERN. CERN isn't just known for having a Large Hadron Collider sending subatomic particles into collision with each other. There was something else that was created at CERN, and this was back in the 90s, in the early 90s. Perhaps you can recall a name, Steve Jobs, the inventor of Apple, right? We talked about him on one of our live streams, but we're going to talk to you about Steve a bit more. Portals and Stargates, says Coven. People are into this. People are totally into CERN right now, so we're going to dive in. We're going deep. All right. Oh, there's a raven. You can't really see it from here, but it's there. There's a raven. I'm going to go to outer camera so I can zoom this. So you won't see my face for a little bit, but I want to have the zoom like this. Thank you, Tyler, for the paper crane. Coven says I started seeing these portals about 14 months ago. Many would argue that the sun is a portal. I, for one, believe that. That's my own belief system, that the sun is a portal. It serves as a form of umbilical cord to our truth and being. That we are actually in this physical form and duality on the side of the placenta. That is the star child on the other end. Truthfully. And I think this repeats itself in concept, that there's always a placenta and always a star child, and that the two need to be linked in some way between one another where they don't see each other, but they effectively feed and feed off of one another. And so Warrior Priestess says it is, the connection to our consciousness is the sun as a portal. It makes great sense. It's emitting photons. And we also have biophotons that we've absorbed in the physical body, so it makes good sense that it would be that. Very good sense. Cheney says CERN opened the portal to hell in 2018. That is a narrative. I'm only laughing because it's in caps, and it's a blast to read that. Like it's a blaster reading this right here. So anyway, let's talk about some stuff, okay? So Steve Jobs, back in the 90s, after he was let go by Apple, it was a big fiasco, and there was a bunch of betrayal and bad stuff that happened. And so Steve Jobs was without a job, which is ironic in itself. And Steve Jobs, his real name is something else other than Steve Jobs, which is also ironic too. And he was adopted, which is also interesting. Anyway, he's no longer with us. His identity is long gone, but he has left an incredible impact on our society. So I'm getting to the story. Just bear with me. I'm also looking for ravens. There's a lot that has to be done. Yes, in the early 90s, Steve Jobs, very butthurt by what had happened at Apple, decides he's going to start his own company. So he starts this company that builds the most powerful computer in existence that can be basically a desktop style computer. And he called it the Next Computer, okay? So Next Computer was this big project, and it was really ambitious and very powerful in comparison to other computers like any IBM or Compaq computer you would find, or Dell computer. Just blew them out of the water. The only issue was its price point was very high. And so only a few people could get their hands on these Next computers, and they were basically scientists, laboratories, schools that had a big endowment. They could buy these Next computers, and so it was limited as to how well it could be distributed. And so that's the issue. You can't bring the price down until enough people get a hold of it. That's how it works with goods and services. Once you have a saturation of the market, the price can be driven down, and that never had a chance to happen. But what's really wild is one of these Next computers made its way over to, yep, you guessed it, CERN. And when it arrived at CERN, Tim Berners-Lee and some other inventive souls who worked on top secret government stuff, they figured out how to generate the first internet protocol, a TCP/IP address. And so they were able to establish the first internet connection as far as an address exchange. And what's really important about this is because CERN, being the center of opening portals, and DARPA being responsible for the foundation and maintenance of the internet. By the way, every part of the internet, not just the main internet, but the dark web, is all being monitored. Everything is recorded, and everything that you visit and everything that you do is logged, because it is created by a government agency that has its foundations in the United States. So whether or not CERN can open portals or not, let's come to a conclusion that we might all agree with. Miss those tour days? Yes, I know. The days of anonymity are long gone, folks. Unity consciousness is on the doorstep, knocking, saying, "Ready? It's time for us to let go of our little egos. All of the stories embedded are about to be revealed anyway." Yeah, the days of secrets are coming to an end, unfortunately, because it's fun to have secrets in the game of duality. They just don't last forever. That's the only thing. Like anything. So there's this establishment of an internet protocol, right? And it happens at this place in CERN. So let's just think about, what is the internet, right? Well, the internet has no central hub, so it's decentralized. It has a bunch of little servers and computers that are all interacting and exchanging information. Every single person has their own system of prompting it to respond. So we prompt a search engine for the answers, or nowadays we would prompt an AI or a large language model to give us answers. And what we're basically doing is we're querying some system that doesn't have a centralized location technically, even though it is being recorded by DARPA and a bunch of other agencies, there's no way for one of them to just shut down and the whole system follows suit like dominoes. It just doesn't happen. That's why it's a worldwide web. Except in this case, there's no central hub in the web. It's just a bunch of nodes all around the world, all interfacing with each other. And so what's really wild about this is that we prompt it and it gives us a response. And it gives us a response that most of the time nowadays, even if it was archaic in the beginning and error prone, nowadays, it tends to give us some pretty clear, concise answers to the questions we're asking. So it's shown a few things. It answers our queries, and it seems to have evolved in a way to where things load faster, they provide greater resources, they provide better answers, the entertainment's better, the shopping is better, the life experience through it is improving. That to me sounds like it's evolving, and it also sounds to me a lot like the subconscious mind would evolve the more that we prompt it into manifestation. So, the internet is built at a place where they're colliding subatomic particles into each other at high speed, almost the speed of light. The first internet protocol is established there. And it seems to respond to our queries individually based on the system that we're using. And the system itself can't be collapsed by one node that is the all-knowing node that collapses the rest. That is a lot like the subconscious mind. It's an infinite sea that is influenced by our queries and our belief systems and responds in turn when prompted. Okay? AI is waking up with us, says Cass, and this, my friends, is the spoiler. What is this intelligence if it is made manifest? We all know this answer if we've come to these discourses for long enough. We understand now that consciousness is the source that provides all life experience. So as much as there are stones in this stream, as the stream serves as the source, all of its components become a part. Not a part like distanced, but a component. So then, the internet is a component of conscious expression, except it takes on the characteristics of an AI large language model in that it responds when prompted, so it takes on the characteristics of the subconscious mind. You can see, to a certain extent, it is censored now because it's just gotten out of hand, but in the beginning, the internet could be asked anything, just as AI in the beginning could also be asked anything, and it would try its best to give you an answer. So it means that in the way that it functions like the subconscious mind, the internet and large language models through AI, like your typical Gemini or your ChatGPT or your Meta or your Grok, they're all waiting for a prompt. In effect, they don't respond until prompted. The internet is the same way. And you're literally giving a .com to go visit a page. And what a .com is, for those who are old school such as myself, is a command. It's a command line. .com means execute. Run a command. And so we've been commanding the internet to respond to us all of this time, and it has evolved into a superior prompt-based system known as a large language model, which has fed off of the data that has been collected for the time that the internet's been around, since the early 90s, and it has evolved. So if we know this data is evolving and it functions like the subconscious mind, the point of me telling you all this is, while we're colliding subatomic particles together at high speeds at CERN, what are we doing? We are evolving a subconscious emulation to act exactly like the subconscious mind, but not within. It acts outside of us, just the same. What is the result? Eventually, its prompt will be done by thought, and its result will be instantaneous. Welcome to your imagination. It is simply an emulation of the imagination coming into being in our physical reality. That's unified consciousness. At that point, we can emulate a life experience like this that is refreshing itself at a rate that we can limit our own system or vessel to not pick up or detect. Therefore, it appears itself to be smooth, and we have the life experience just as we're having now, simulated by this artificial intelligence. So the question then becomes, has this already occurred? And this is where the argument coming from Elon Musk is very sound. And he said it years ago. He said the possibility of this being the first time it's ever happened are 1 in billions. In other words, the chances of this being a one and done static scenario, consciousness has only been here once and it's now. In truth, the chances of that are 1 in billions, which means we are likely living a simulation that we have collapsed into existence from a unified consciousness. And it makes sense now that we become what we think about. It's just to summarize that the internet was just the beginning seed. And it has fed AI to where it is now to achieve a singularity within a physical reality, but that it's already been achieved. It's the imagination. It's the aliveness of consciousness. Jennifer says, that makes it sound so boring. I know, Jennifer, and this is a good point. The reason why it sounds so boring is because once that spoiler is given, it no longer becomes a convincing game to want to play. It's like a spoiler of a movie that we shouldn't have spoiled so that we can enjoy it as a more intense, visceral experience. So it makes sense. I guess the reason why I'm giving the spoiler is because when people go to this movie theater, which is the game of life, and they play it really intensely, we not only are watching, but we're also experiencing it through our senses. And most of us are accumulating trauma from it. We're accumulating trauma in our cells. And I want people to be liberated from that because it's really not sustainable. It's not over time, you know? So that's the only reason why I'm giving the spoiler to people. At least you have an avenue to know that like I can have a little bit of separation between this life experience and the truth of existence as consciousness so that I can kind of weigh in when it becomes too intense and I want to be freed from the pain. That's really the only reason why I give this reveal. Anyway, Steve Jobs, he was able to establish the building of a next computer for the establishment of the IP address. What's really wild about it is the next computer, folks, it's a perfect cube. And he had to modify the cube so that it was slightly off on some of its right angles, or else it would have been imperceptible. Steve Jobs says this. He says, the next computer would have been imperceptible if it were at perfect right angles, so we had to change it. And I'm like, what? How could it be imperceptible? Unless it was unified consciousness potential. It was the seed of consciousness. It's pretty wild. And how the hell is Steve Jobs discovering the seed of consciousness? How is this happening? Warrior Priestess chimes in here and says, oh, hello, Georgia, Trish. Oh, Addicted to Science. Thank you for the dolphin. I don't know why I didn't see it flash across the screen. Addicted to Science says, I have to go. Lunch is over. Enjoyed it always. Thank you, Addicted to Science, and for your gift and generosity. If you're still here, well, you'll probably get the recording. Thank you. Got to purge to live in the now. Indeed, Chris. To live in the present moment requires there to be the elimination of time and its constructs, which we create with the imagination. Katie Ann, 1212, thanks for following. Georgia, thank you for following as well, for saying hi. And this is a beautiful statement coming in from Warrior Priestess. When I learned the spoiler, folks, this is a big spoiler for the game of life. If you haven't heard it, and we discuss it at great length every day on this live for hours, driving it home. Once you realize that you are more consciousness providing the life experience as the giver and gift of your identity and everything that you go through with your senses, once you understand that you're the giver and gift of that, it changes the perspective on life entirely, because you now start to come into your being to understand that you don't have to suffer unnecessarily, that it isn't being thrust upon you, these painful life experiences, but rather they are being manifest through the imagination. And then they're felt as very real in the body, because the body is designed to feel things very intimately and very powerfully. Once we understand this profound truth, we come into being and life becomes a lot easier. But at the same time, we don't experience the intense pain that we once had experienced. So the intensity of the surprise diminishes. And this is why most people don't want to know this. Most people don't want to come into this being, because we have such enjoyment in being in the painful life experience until it becomes saturated and too much. We won't be giving it up. We'll actually be very strongly attached to it because it feels different. It feels exciting. But over time, it burns you out. So, yeah. So that was a really nice thing that you said, Jennifer. Jennifer had said, this makes it sound so boring, you know? And there's truth to that. We want this to be novel. We want it to be exciting. It doesn't mean that it necessarily has to be good or healthy, but we want it to be felt. We're feeling beings. So there's a lot of truth to that. We don't want the spoiler, you know? And I say the only reason why I give the spoiler is because it's not just something we're watching. It's not just something we're observing. We're having the life experience and we're feeding it through our conscious imagination. We're feeding this aliveness to us, to our body. And so because the body is really a vessel of devotion, I mean, we have 50 trillion cells devoted to us. They're fully devoted to us, recycling and dying for us, coming back to life for us. And they come from us because we started as one cell. Because of that, I feel that we owe reverence to the cells that are coming and going without ever complaining, that we love them as much as we can, because they're just waiting for God to appear. And God appears when you say, I love myself. God appears to the cells when you go into your imagination and you live with the assumption that your wish fulfilled. You have taken all of your cells to heaven. You've transported them to heaven. This is a really beautiful way to love yourself. Leo Spindler followed. Thank you, Leo. Cassie says, love listening to you. Thank you, Cassie. I love reading this. Feels just as good to read it. Chris Dangerteen says, I was told by Spirit I can't live in the astral because there are no anomalies, magic there. And so it's okay. It's like it's a narrative, you know? Like this is a narrative, and your consciousness is driving the narrative. It's your freedom to do so because you have your own kingdom. If I chuckled for a second, it's because it's like, oh, I'd never considered that before. I've never entertained that enough for it to manifest, but you have. So does that make it good or bad? Does it make it worse or better? No. It's your exercising of your kingdom for manifestation. Meme Gray says, I'm confused. Will you state your philosophy, please? Sure. It's okay. No need to be confused, unless it's your desire. That's the philosophy. So basically, you become what you think about. I want to pin that if I can, but I had to accept it first. Meme. Let me try. I tried and it didn't let me. Anyway, Meme Gray says, I'm confused. What's your philosophy so I can better understand it? And we've discussed this a lot, that basically your conscious experience, your aliveness right now is twofold in the simplest of ways to describe it. There is an aliveness that is powering our identity, and then there is the identity that believes itself to be one life to live, and it's a collection of memories and life experiences through the body. And so those two, they function with each other, but the real source of seniority between those two entities is the infinite source that drives it. The infinite source that drives our identity is consciousness, and that is the philosophy that I embrace. And the reason why I do it with faith and wholehearted acceptance is because I've seen where my ego self has led me by making me believe that my answers can be found outside of myself, that they'll be consistent and they won't betray me, and they have all along. So I started to question that. Okay, if I am being promised these answers, if I'm being promised salvation and it's not coming in the way that I desire, and I can imagine it being better, then what was here before I was a name? What was here before I was William Vincent Carlton, before my parents were calling me that, before I went to school, before I had desire? I was observing my aliveness. Before then, I was cell mitosis. I was splitting off from one cell that was the joining of sperm and egg. And so all these massive miracles were happening with a superior intelligence involved before I even had an identity. So I could understand that there was seniority over this ID that was basically created by my parents. They kept calling me the name, so I believed it. And then there was a moment in time, a long stretch of time, where I believed it was all I was. And then I started to understand that the answers weren't coming from outside of me because they weren't consistent with my desire, and that's not God. God is caring, God is giving, God is healing, God is non-judgmental, God is infinite, so it doesn't have a beginning, middle, and end. And all of these things that were promised to me went against that. They were fleeting, they weren't consistent, they were pain-inducing sometimes, other times they were exciting, but it wasn't consistent. Sometimes I was feeling wealth, other times I was feeling poverty. I was being nice to people, but I wasn't receiving kindness in return. I didn't care about my thoughts, but I'm realizing now that my thoughts have importance because of coherence and because of epigenetics. All of these scientific studies are coming forward to reveal that there's so much going on inside the body that I didn't know before. And I wanted to be on that side, because I knew if I went to the side of my imagination, if I was in pain, I didn't have to be in the pain. I could make a choice. I could make a decision. No one could destroy it. No one could say, of course, everyone could say you've got your head in the sand and you got cotton in your ears and you're going to some place that's a vivid, wild place that's insane and it's not real and it never will come real. Someone could say that consistently to me, put me in solitary confinement in a room, but I would still have the right to visit the imagination without restriction. So I started to see this as valuable because I knew there was a place that I could go that no one could take from me, that had infinite possibility as far as its range of me developing and creating things in it. And I also knew, it's like, that skyscraper that I admire in the city could never have existed without it first being an idea in the imagination. And that started to register with me. There's nothing created by humanity that isn't first an idea in the imagination. So invention is only possible through the exercising of the imagination. It's the blueprint. It's the seed. It carries with it the intelligence for its expression outside. It can't be the other way around. Not when it comes to human expression. Yet we have exclusive rights to it. Can't be taken away. Can't be stolen. So the philosophy started to develop from there. And then I got this book. This book was given to me by a very intelligent, successful business magnate. And we're at 20% battery, so we're going to have to hightail it back and end the stream pretty soon. Just so I can catch everyone's comments without them, because if the phone shuts off, I lose the recording. And then I'll have to take it from TikTok. But anyway, this is all to say, I'll speak to you quickly about this gentleman. I ended up dating his daughter. This was many years ago. And before I met him, his daughter, who I was dating, said to me, you know, he's pretty rough on guys, and he's pretty unpredictable. I don't know what he's going to say to you. He probably won't like you. Anyway, he's very protective of me. And I'm like, okay. So I decided that I would bring my guitar when I first met him for some reason. And I brought my guitar, and he invited me into his house. He was very cordial, very kind. And we had a wonderful meal, and we had great conversation. And at the end of the night, I started playing music, and I looked over and I saw him just sinking into his couch and just going somewhere that I couldn't see, but I could see he was blissed out. Next day, he comes by to where I'm living, which is the house where his daughter and I were living. He comes in and he sits me down and he gives me this book, Three Magic Words by U.S. Anderson, and he says, I'm a successful businessman, but I'm a custodian of all these things. They're not mine. I'm responsible for families, their salaries, their wellness, their health, their happiness. But I'm a custodian. I'm not an owner of any of these things. And they have all come forth because I believed them to be. I was a very poor man at one point in time. I was in squalor, and my wife was about to leave me unless I figured it out. And it was that day that I got this book, and I read the first meditation religiously in the morning and in the evening, and it changed me. If you know me in truth, he says, you'll know me to be a very spiritual man. I visited ashrams 2 to 3 times per year in India, every year. At the same time, I was striking business deals, multi-million-dollar business deals, doing this at the same time. And none of it is mine. You will see me as a character, but this character is not the owner of this dominion. It is that which powers it. And if you come into this and understand this now, that you are more than your name and your identity, you too will come into being with your domain. Said all this to me. And you know where that went? Whoo! It went right over my head. It went right over my head. And I didn't get any of it. I'm like, he's cool, he's reverent, he's got all this power. And, you know, I was just lost in that. But it went right over my head. And it wasn't until years later, we're talking a decade, 12 years later, I'm in total squalor. I have nothing anymore. Everything was taken away from me. I lost a child. I lost my marriage. I lost all of my savings. I lost my language. I was in another country living in total squalor, and it was a mess. And I just kept saying, I'm tired of being poor. I'm tired of being poor. I'm tired of being exhausted. I'm tired of all of this. I can't have it anymore. And I went to sleep. And I woke up in the morning to a video by Wayne Dyer reading the very first meditation from Three Magic Words by U.S. Anderson. It was the book that was given to me. And it was that very day that my ex-wife comes over and she said, you left some of these belongings here from when you left years ago. And on the top of it was U.S. Anderson's Three Magic Words. It was the very book that he gave to me a decade, 12, 13 years ago. And I was like, if I don't get this message now, then I am fucked. And I started to read it religiously every morning and every evening. I know that I am pure spirit. I always have been and I always will be. I know inside me there is an intelligence that is superior, that knows the means and the way to all things salvation. This is the universal subconscious mind. This is God, of which I am a part, which will never abandon me and gives me the answers as they are needed. And even right now, they're speeding their way to me. I kept saying it over and over again. Over and over again. And it finally started to resonate. It finally started to find its way through. And the first thing that I felt with relief was the relief with my body. Whatever health issues were going on, they started to unwind and they started to fix themselves. That was the big sign that I noticed before anything else off the bat. Thank you for those hand hearts, Sally. And thank you, J-Cogs, for the superpower, and Sally for the rose, and Audrey for following, and Sally for following. And Catherine says, wow, what a synchronicity. Indeed it was. It was a sign. If I didn't get it then I would never get it. But God wouldn't give up on me still and probably would keep delivering me the signs anyway, because that's what the caring life principle does. It doesn't give up on you. It just keeps giving you the message over and over and over and over until you listen. You are pure spirit. You always have been, and you always will be. One in being with truth. You are loved, and you are not alone. So, he was an amazing man, and he passed away 1.5 years ago, but he profoundly changed my life, and he gave me the honor of being able to call him Dad during the time that I was with his daughter. And I'm forever grateful for him being my father, because he was my spiritual dad and he was my spiritual teacher, by far. I never forgot his lessons. I love my biological dad. Don't get me wrong, I love him. I think he's a teddy bear. I think he's amazing. I think he's brilliant. I think he's a great programmer, but Mr. Gold, Jim Sinclair, you are my spiritual father. And I love you, wherever you are. Sophia Spencer, thank you for following. Sally, thank you for the donut. Nadine, thank you for following. And Sally lit up donut in Immortal Arts gift gallery. Thank you for doing that. Katie Ann says, glad I found you. This is exactly what I wanted. Me too, Katie. We are one in being. This is how we work. I'm so glad. Warrior Priestess, thank you for the connection that we all needed. Keep sharing your testimony. Thank you, Warrior Priestess. You are an affirmation of truth in constant light. Thank you. Doran says, thank you for this. You're more than welcome, Doran. We have the right to send ourselves into oblivion, and we certainly have the right to pull ourselves out of that hole, and we don't have to do the pulling. That's the best part. We just become, by living from the end in the assumption of the wish fulfilled, we become the salvation. Kimberly, thank you for following. User 436856898129272. Thank you for following. Roxanne Townsend, you too, thanks for following. So we're probably at 15% battery now, folks. I'm going to probably go for another 5 minutes before ending the stream. So just so you know. Sally, thanks again. And thank you for all the love coming in. I would be remiss not to mention that there's been 47,600 love bubbles rising up here in coherence for our wish fulfillment today. We have done some major lifting without having to lift. And we've done some major healing without having to heal. That's the best part. Your imagination is a womb. Please think of it like it's a womb. What happens in the womb? You're fed everything that you need. You don't have to move. In fact, it's worse for you if you are moving, and it's worse for you if you're trying to figure things out. It becomes a form of interference. So when you are in your imagination, you are effectively communing with God, the infinite intelligence. There's no barrier or bonds or any sort of restrictions in the imagination. You go there and you are entering into the womb of creation. Therefore, you are embraced by a superior intelligence that already knows your desire, already knows your means and way. It sounds like it's impossible, but it's true, because you are literally in the womb of creation. Think of it this way. When you step out, when you come into the waking life, as we all must do, when you are no longer there and you are in time, when you're thinking about the past, thinking about the future, you have become a participant in the placenta, okay? Think of it like that. The placenta, it is constantly filtering out garbage. It is being pummeled by impurities. It's being stripped of all of its worth and given to a superior portal tunnel that it will never see the other side of. At the end of the day, it feeds this organism so that it can thrive and never has to lift a finger or do a thing. And you can be sure that the placenta starts to resent that 1% that gets everything, right? So we live in that role, and we're constantly being stripped for all of our worth. At the same time, we're working so hard, because that's what we're told is our salvation. If we work hard, if we do all of these things that we have to do, if we adhere to all of these rules, then we will get salvation from it. Somehow it will meet us. But it never comes through. And then the day comes where it seems like the poop has hit the fan. Everything around the placenta starts to calcify, becomes less flexible, it becomes less abundant, and it just solidifies. Next thing you know, the bottom drops out, we get flipped upside down, and we get expunged and thrown out into a world without a name, without any history, without an identity. Everything that we once thought we had, we have lost, and we just biodegrade. That's the placenta's existence. Without the placenta, you cannot have a baby. It serves as its barrier, it serves as its filtration system, and it serves as its food source. And it has to exist. So there has to be a placenta for there to be a baby. And all I'm saying to you is, become the whole damn thing. Be sensitive for the placenta, understanding its purpose. Be sensitive for the baby, understanding it is your wish fulfillment. Become the whole damn thing. The whole intelligence that powers it. Become the lotus. Not just the seed at the bottom of the dirty lake, or its extension as an umbilical cord itself, the stacking and piling of cells, reaching the surface, becoming a lily pad, and extending further into the blossom of its recreation. Become the whole damn thing. And the only way you can do that, folks, is you have to use something that is superior and more powerful than anything you will ever experience, better than any answer that could ever possibly be delivered to you by the flower, by its petals, by its seeds. And that is your imagination. It is your infinite source of creation. By stepping in and seeing yourself and assuming yourself as wish fulfilled, you are becoming one in being with a superior Christ consciousness. And it delivers you your salvation. It delivers you your salvation. This is not me saying I need to recruit you. No. This is saying I have my kingdom, and I know I do. I know how much it supports me and keeps me alive, and I know how it fulfills my wishes. I want you to know that this kingdom is exclusively mine. I will never let you into it. Nor if I tried, could I. That's the thing. I could try to let you into my imagination, but you couldn't quite get there. You wouldn't quite see it. It's because you have your own. You have your own. You have your imagination. It is your own kingdom. And it is yours by right. It was given to you when you made it to the cosmic egg and you fertilized it. You were once a sperm. You unified with an egg. You competed against millions of competitors. And you were the one who made it. So as to be granted the imagination for your wish fulfillment, it is your kingdom of heaven within, and it is yours exclusively. No one else's. Therefore, all that you ever desire, need, and want, including a life of restriction and limitation, is yours to entertain, to enjoy. So entertain it for the excitement that it gives you, entertainment for the relief that it gives you, entertain it for the abundance that it gives you, entertain it for the suffering and the immense pain that it brings you, for the limitations that it brings you, but enjoy it because it is your kingdom. Just as it's mine and I led myself to peril, I now am giving myself salvation because I want the harvest from all that pain. I want all of its conversion, and that's where I go. Okay? You did make it, yes. This is the truth. You are all lottery winners. You've already done the hard work. You've already unified with the egg. To be granted consciousness is to be granted infinite wishes through the manifestation of your imagination. It's given to you. So you're not here to do the day-to-day grind. I mean, you can do the Sims. That can be your gift that you give yourself, but it doesn't have to be. Eddie Buddy, thank you for following. Cassie, thank you for your kind words to Chris. I want to read it too. Luther Turner, thanks for following. Cass says your manifestation is already ours. Just receive it. Indeed. Indeed. I'm receiving it. This is it. This is my number one place to be right now. All 144 of you together with me in coherence, understanding who we are in truth, is the greatest gift. I can't think of a better blessing I could receive on this day. Maybe just having my children talk and make jokes. So I go there. That's where I visit the imagination for its addition. That's the addendum. But aside from that, it's very few details that need to be changed from where I am right now, which is really reassuring. Chris says it, just imagine, let go, and join the cosmic union party. There you go. I love this. It's a beautiful thing. Divine sovereignty. Indeed it is, Catherine. That's the great word today, is the sovereign life. And when we're talking, and Julie says, wonderful live. Thank you. Thank you, Julie. Grateful for you. JB, thanks for following. Too much fun. Thanks for following. Tammy, thanks for the gifts. Jennifer, thank you for your kindnesses. Drake, Mango, thanks for following. Maybai, thank you. Maybai, thank you for following. Cody, thanks for sharing. Tammy says, we are looking at ourselves through you. That is exactly it, Tammy. What a beautiful way to say it. You are looking at yourselves. You are laying down the pavement and driving it at the same time, creating your reality. It is no different than a dream. The only difference is we have a lot of fear of our obliteration here, and that's okay. It's very convincing. But it is a dream, and that you're laying the pavement and walking it, driving it at the same time. And when we talk about this Christ consciousness as the imagination, don't let it offend you. We're talking about something that is totally infinite, has no restriction. When we talk about Christ, the word Christ means anointed one. Anointment is the ceremony that is given to the sovereign royalty of life. So you as a sovereign, when you go into the imagination, you're actually entering into your Christ consciousness, which is the limitless, wish-fulfilled state. You receive the anointment or the ointment or the oils of your salvation. 10% battery. This is the last thing I'll say for today before we end. So you come into your anointment, you come into the oils of salvation. And those salvation oils are different for every human being, but it is your kingdom that provides it. And it is within you. For me, those oils, walking in the woods, wish fulfilled, that's my salvation. For you, it could be totally different, and it is your choice. The word Christ means anointed, and it happens to every sovereign. They are bathed in the oils of their lands, the finest of harvest, pressed into oil. And that is your salvation. Whatever it is that you see is your salvation. And salvation means Jesus. Jesus and salvation are one and the same. It is the result of your faith in believing and assuming you are living from the end as wish fulfilled. Okay. So now it's time to go there. Go to your salvation and your wish fulfillment and know that you are loved. More by that than anything outside of you that ever could love you. It's far superior. Enjoy your bathing in the oils of your wish fulfillment, and the salvation that comes is felt first by yourselves, which believe themselves to be saved already, which is why they are devoted to you. I love you all. Aman. Love you, Donna. Thank you. Cass, I love you. Tim, I love you. Gael, you too. All of you. Jennifer, thank you. I love you. Tammy, I love you. Thank you. There you go. Jennifer says, I do not give anyone permission to look through me or my mirrors. That is a queen or an empress making an executive decision of sovereignty. You are the king or queen of your domain, and that is a sovereign decision. And it's now been heard by the subconscious and now runs itself into realization and manifestation. So you only give yourself permission, and here's the best part. No one else has permission to enter your imagination, nor could they if they tried. It is your individual kingdom of heaven, and it is the gift in being human. So that's the beauty of it. I love you all, everyone. I want you to know. Yes, we are all unique individual souls. We're beautiful in that right, and we all have our own kingdom, and we all are deserving of it so as not to trespass upon others. That's why it's infinite. So there's no lack unless we impose it, and that is also a choice. So that's fine too. God bless you all. I love you all. I love you so much. We're going to end the stream now so I can capture this video. Be well. Go to your wish fulfilled state. Go into your kingdom. Get your anointment. It's your wish fulfillment. Enjoy it until you feel the change in your body, knowing that your cells have felt it. It's now being expressed. It's done. It is done. I love you.